We're back. We're back for the afternoon sesh of the Boss Baby Robert Telly's trial in Las Vegas, Nevada. So funny. I always have my chat open on my phone, and it just told me to super chat myself. Stand out with a super chat. It wants me to super chat myself. I think YouTube needs to figure out their AI program a little bit. Needs to be a little bit better. Hello again. Hello. Just called to let you know. Name that tune. I think about you every night. I know it's late, but I couldn't wait. Hello. We're going back for the cross-examination of Boss Baby's sad lady. Perhaps they're not allowed to inquire about it, and I was here for it, but we haven't heard about it. Perhaps backseat Paramore. Yes, 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 Neil Diamond, of course. Of course. My mother was a Neil Diamond a freak when I was growing up. She still is. She used to sleep out for tickets for Neil Diamond, and it was constantly playing on vinyl in my house. I know every single word to every single song. It's probably where I get my love of music from my parents because they were listening to music all the time. Neil Diamond, Leonard Cohen, Barbara Streisand, um, all of it. There's always a record player on in my house 24/7 as a kid growing up. We're just waiting, waiting, waiting. And what has everyone been doing? Did you go watch the verdict on the Susan Lawrence trial? Because I did not. Did what? Melissa Crawford says Neil Diamond's daughters babysat my sister and I when we were little. What? Where did you live? Oh, I need to know more, Melissa. I need to know more. Did you meet him? Did you know him? Was he cool? He's not in very good health right now. Trying to get my mom to go see the Neil Diamond Broadway show, but she just has no interest because it's just not him. Nobody can play him except for him. Does Claire have a Neil Diamond t-shirt? When I was on his show last week, we did talk about Neil Diamond that came up. It was like the only music that we could agree on because we have so many different musical tastes, except we both agreed on Neil Diamond because I guess both our parents listened to it. Harmony's named after a song. Think of if I can think of what song that is. Huh. That is interesting. I gotta see if Melissa comes back and tells me where she grew up and if she met Neil Diamond now. I'm riveted by this. I can't even move on with the show until I find the answer. Till I know more about being babysat by Neil Diamond's daughters. Do you still keep in touch? I have so many questions, Melissa. I have so many questions. I have so many questions. Leonard Cohen. I never really could get into Leonard Cohen. To me, it was always like music to it made you depressed, and I found Leonard Cohen to be very depressing. And every song kind of sounded the same. If you know, you know. Oh, I did get a hold of the exhibits in the Ashley Benefield motion. The receipts about the juror number 15, and they were all attached. Police reports, and it is crazy. And what is so sad about it, we could maybe, if you guys want to, we can go over it tomorrow. I'm not going to be able to do it tonight, I don't think. We can finish up those Ashley Benefield motions. There's some more to it. And the exhibits about juror 15 are crazy because juror 15 was a perpetrator in like 2 of the cases in the early aughts, 2003, maybe 2004. And during those investigations, police reports, whatever they were, the ex-husband is complaining about her being dangerous and saying that he didn't think that the child should be around her, and they had a son, and he was like 5 or 6. and all kinds of crazy allegations against her. And then what is so heartbreaking is that that son is the one that she lied about. They're saying also in her voir dire questionnaire about him being a perpetrator. So that little boy who's mentioned in the early aughts as being 5 or 6, there's then a police report with him when he's 18 committing DV against his pregnant girlfriend. And his mother is the one who posts his bond. And then she is also a victim in 2016. And the details in that are horrifying and chilling. And if all that is true, correct. In my opinion, she never should have been on the jury. And if she lied about all of that in her questionnaire, in my opinion, that's enough to get a new trial. That's egregious. And she has an unusual name, and obviously the date of birth and identifying information is in all of these reports. So it seems like, yeah, there's more to it, Anthony. I didn't have all the documents yesterday when I went over it. There's an affidavit from Ashley in there. There's all those receipts on juror 15, the police reports, and it's wild. And it's explosive in my opinion after seeing the details and the reports that were attached. It's crazy. Yeah, and unfair. And in my opinion, she's entitled to a new trial based on that. I mean, the details are crazy. And it's so sad that the little boy who grew up allegedly watching his mother perpetrate abuse upon his father became an abuser. Oh, it's so sad. Breaks my heart. And the dynamic and the ripple effects of DV, as many of you know, being survivors, is enormous and chilling. Suzanne, my voice is all gravelly, so now it's like I can do Leonard Cohen. Takes me down. Or is that the one about the river? Or no, Marianne. Good night, Marianne. Is it Marianne? Or good night, Marianne? Or so long, Marianne? It's time that we begin to laugh and cry and laugh about it all again. Harmony and me are really good company. Okay, here's Melissa coming in. We were living in Milford, Connecticut. He and his family used to sponsor families that were in DV situations. What? And had escaped. We were one of those families. My mom got close to him, his wife, and his girls. Oh, that just gave me the chills, Melissa. I love that story. If you're tuning in late, we're talking about Neil Diamond. Neil Diamond's daughters used to babysit for Melissa Crawford in Milton, Connecticut. I love that story so much. Did anybody else just get the chills hearing that? And how crazy that we were just talking about Ashley Benefield in the same sentence? Suzanne takes you down to the river. That's right. Suzanne takes you down to the river. Yeah, Suzanne was a good time, right? I think she kind of warped Leonard Cohen's brain, if I recall the lyrics of that one. Patty says Cohen is as depressing as Dylan. The thing about Dylan that I love, well, first of all, what an amazing poet he was, but so many other people covered his songs. Like I think somebody pointed out in the chat, he is the most covered artist of all time. Obvi. And I pointed out the other day that I went to a Bob Dylan concert. I don't remember when. I don't know, within the past 10 years, I want to say. And I was up front and I tried to take a picture with my cell phone and his security team nearly tackled me. No pictures. He does not allow any pictures. He does not want anybody taking his picture. I was like, he should be happy that people want to take his picture. But they were crazy, strict about cell phone pictures, like crazy. And I want to say that was at like Nassau Coliseum or maybe Madison Square Garden. I can't remember. But how crazy is that? Yeah, everyone's sorry that you were in that situation, Melissa. But sweet. Oh, Margaret got teary. Amanda did too. Anton says, what evidence is there that the hoodie guy is the brother of one of the jurors? Is it certain? I don't know. But in my opinion, that's kind of like I don't think that that's as damning as juror 15. And, quite honestly, we don't know if that hoodie guy's sister is juror 15 or not. It could be the same person. Could be two different people. If it's two different people, it's 1/3 of the jury that was compromised, biased, or tampered with, or, misconduct on part of 1/3 of the jury. That's a lot. There's only 6 on the jury in Florida if it's not a capital case, which Ashley Benefield was not. So, I don't think the hoodie guy is that. If it was just that alone, I don't know that would warrant a new trial. But coupled with Juror 15's history and the fact that Juror 15 lied about it potentially on the questionnaire, that's a big problem. Rara Monty, always nice to hear a celebrity doing nice things. I know. Elizabeth Neal and his family are humble, caring, loving folks. They are good people. Really love that. Robbie's mad at Dylan. Come on, Bob. I had you at God level. That's crazy. What was the weather that day at the concert? Remember, Rod Stewart does like to cover the Dylan. The Dead, the Grateful Dead covered a lot of Bob Dylan. And in fact, there was a tour. I forget what year it was, but it was like Bob Dylan and the Dead. And they played together for like the whole summer. Anybody remember that? Dylan and the Dead. Bruce Hornsby played with the Grateful Dead for a while. Cheryl's like, I'm older than dirt. Melon, no, you're not, Cheryl. My father listened to Frank Sinatra. I mean, we had Sinatra on in my house too. And also the, oh my gosh, what was the name of those guys? It was like not the Irish tenors, but the, it'll come to me. It was like a real rando type band. Oh my, Dave Elliott says, I'll give you the chills. My wife, when she was little, was babysat, I guess, by Candy Montgomery, the axe murderer in Dallas, Texas. That's crazy. She was babysat by, or she babysat for her. That's nuts. Coffee Nut couldn't find Hoodie Guy on YouTube. I think it was that Hoodie Guy, and it wasn't like he was a YouTuber. He just has a YouTube name, like a lot of you guys do, to participate in chats. So he's not a YouTuber, but he was just in the Law and Crime chat saying, my sister's in the jury room. She's a juror. She snuck in a flip phone, and it's 5-1. And the man is the holdout. He's going for not guilty or manslaughter. So they're going to compromise on manslaughter. So you probably won't be able to find him. He's just a user, unless he's in the chat right now. That Hoodie Guy, are you here? If you're here, say hi. We're just waiting for court to start chatting like we usually do. Oh, look at Jennifer. She saw Dylan at Brooklyn recently. Brooklyn Bowl? Or Brooklyn, like that horrible, terrible, no good, very bad arena that is not good for concerts at all. The Barclays Center. It is like this steep. I mean, it's so steep. I fear for people going down those stairs to go to the restroom. We had to put our mobile phones in locked pouches for the show. Very strict, like Faraday bags. They know what a Faraday bag is. All right, Jason's in here with the info. It's 1994. Dylan and the Dead in Highgate, Vermont, in an open air field in 1994. That was the summer, I think, right? Summer tour? Oh, no, Patty, don't say it's not so. Billy Joel yelled at me when I asked to take his picture on his boat in the Sag Harbor Marina. No. Was that recently or a long time ago when he used to be angry and drunk? He lives near me. I've met him in restaurants before. He was lovely to me. That makes me mad. Billy, Captain Jack, come on now. Nice to your people. Yeah, Team Brittany. Every case does seem to have a Hoodie Guy. They're back. Sound is up. Hello, Lily Lore. It's popping in during lunch. What? Please be seated. Get put your earbuds in. We're here for Roberta's Cross, everyone. Carly's Ma saw Neil Diamond twice. Was it awesome? Robbie, I've seen Billy Joel many times. Awesome. A big sing-along. I love it. You're going to have to turn up your volume, Long Crime.
Does the state stipulate stipulate to the presence of the jury, Pam?
Yes, Your Honor.
And the defense?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, we can call the witness back in, and
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Draskovich can begin his cross-examination.
Stop it, Ed. You knew Aileen Wuornos? That's crazy. That one was a whack job.
Thank you very much for your patience in coming back. Do you understand you're still under oath?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Draskovich?
Thank you. Good afternoon, Ms. Kenneth.
Hi.
Here we go.
You had testified that after Robert Tellis started the public administrator's office, there were a lot of changes, kind of a shakeup, fair to say.
That's correct.
It's kind of a tipping over basically of the apple cart away that the things had been prior to his arrival.
Absolutely.
There'd been some changes concerning overtime. He was eliminating people's overtime
Correct.
in an attempt to try and save taxpayer dollars.
Yes.
That didn't go over very well with the old guard, did it?
The old guard.
Old guard, meaning all the prior?
Correct.
Correct.
And who, based upon what you saw and what you knew in the office, who was he making upset?
It would have been our senior state coordinator, Noreen Pagdanian.
Noreen
Alicia
Pagdanian.
Goodwin, one of our state coordinators.
Alicia Goodwin.
I can't say Rita Reed because she was on salary. That's our assistant PA. But mainly the other two estate coordinators.
In addition,
They were the plaintiffs in the civil lawsuit that we looked at in one of the pretrial shows that I did with you.
to the concerns that Mr. Tellis had in reference to the overtime, were there other concerns regarding basically the ethics of the office's relationships with third-party vendors?
Yes.
What were some of the concerns that you shared with Mr. Tellis in reference to this?
Are you specifically talking about our real estate vendor?
Correct. Yes.
We had one vendor at the time.
And who was that?
So I am so sorry. I forgot his name. Brian. But he worked mainly with John Cahill on real estate. Estate coordinators were not a part of that process. Actually, there were lots of concerns by other realtors that would come in and say that it just didn't seem right that there was only one vendor for that.
And again, was there a concern by those that predated Mr. Tellis concerning his wanting to change things up concerning the third-party vendors?
Yes.
Was there a concern shared by yourself and Mr. Tellis about?
Yeah, just pointing out that I think the old guard is what Jeff Garriman may have called them in the article. And he's using his words, I think, because it has been used before during the trial. Interesting. And it is part of the theory is the real estate people framed him. So let's listen.
Some of these basically contractors, real estate agents operating under the Independent Administrations Act.
Oh, yes. Are we talking about Mr. Moore?
Correct.
Yes.
Where homes basically were being sold, people, Mr. Moore and others were coming in on properties, selling them to straw buyers, and then selling them a second time for substantially greater profit.
Sure. I don't know what straw buyers are, but yes, there is a concern.
Let's say a person dies. And generally, let's say that person dies intestate, where they they don't have a will. Maybe their heirs are around, maybe there's not. But was there a concern where someone would proclaim themselves, Mr. Moore, just a de facto, just front off the bat, I'm the administrator, they'd come in and sell the property to someone that perhaps there's a conflict of interest?
Okay. Yes. Well, yes.
That was occurring.
Correct.
And then that person would turn around and sell that same property for a lot more money.
Correct. Yes.
And was the concern that you shared with Mr. Tellis is that basically these heirs weren't getting money.
That's correct.
So basically the memories of their loved ones who had died was being trampled on by these people that were coming in and grabbing these properties and making money off of them.
That's correct. I actually handled an estate just like that. Yes.
And that person with whom you handled that estate, was that person afraid of reprisal or getting in trouble or danger from stopping this happening to an heirs or to the properties being sold by these third-party vendors?
I'm so sorry. I don't think I understand.
Fair enough. What do you recall concerning your involvement? What are your concerns that were going on?
Are you talking about specifically to that one estate?
Correct.
I had an estate where real property was not worth very much. There was quite a bit of personal property though in the residence that had some value. We could not find a way to handle that real property accordingly because there's no liquid funds that we could use to fix up that place. I believe Mr. Moore came in and took over. John let him, Mr. Cahill, my prior PA. And he had made a comment when he came in to secure that property and take over the estate. Oh, if you got any more cases like this, we'd love to take them. So, and then later on, the family made contact with me and made comments that they had received nothing. So nothing of the personal property was distributed to them, which is normally something that we would do with family members.
Yes.
And there was no distribution of any kind. I think the house got foreclosed on. They renovated and sold it for more money, and the family got nothing.
So again, you had these third-party vendors who were making money off basically dead people's property.
Correct.
And the dead people's heirs were not getting money from the sales of these properties. It was these third-party vendors.
Correct.
Did there ever come a point in time where you and Mr. Tellis discussed the concerns regarding Compass Realty?
Compass Realty came up because they were noted in a lot of these private administration. I think they're called IAE, something like that, Independent Administration Estates, something of that
Correct.
nature.
And that came under the Independent Administrations Act.
Correct, yeah.
Yes.
Don't make it so hard for
we
the
started
court
to see their
reporter.
names more involved in the document filings, the legal filings. So Compass Realty came up. I think there were, besides Mr. Moore, there were two other parties that would file for these independent whatever acts. So I believe they were associated with them. Yes.
And when these parties, specifically Compass Realty or others similarly situated, when they come in and make these filings under the Independent Administrations Act, they would do that. So basically, based upon your understanding, the public administrator's office would really not have anything to do with that. And they would.
That's correct. We would find out about these filings after the fact.
And based upon your personal knowledge, was this common prior to Mr. Tellis winning the election?
Absolutely.
But then when he came in, he tried to stop that.
Absolutely.
Fair to say that people expressed anger at Mr. Tellis because he was trying to stop this.
Yeah, I believe there were some phone calls from people, angry about it. Why was
Angry.
he trying to step in?
And basically keep money from going to them.
I guess, sure.
Are you aware of the amounts of money that we're talking about?
I think when Rob was researching it was like in the millions. So
Rob.
it's a lot.
So he was basically standing.
Rob. It came out. She called him Rob. Not a great look. He's your boss. He was your boss. Maybe you ought to refer to him by Mr. just for purposes of your testimony. I'm just thinking. If I was prepping this witness, that's the way I would have prepped her. I wouldn't say refer to him as Rob. And okay, if they're gonna, why would they frame? Why wouldn't they just kill him? Why would they frame him and kill Jeff Gearman? But okay, yeah, big mega mind. He had a huge mega mind that he was able to uncover this scheme of Compass Realty, making money, boss baby with benefits.
Rob was researching it was like in the millions. So it was a lot.
So he was basically standing in the way of people making millions of dollars, which had been making that type of money before he was elected.
Correct.
Under the old guard.
Did you ever discuss with Mr. Tellis a packet, or let me ask you this, did you ever discuss with Mr. Tellis his wanting to go to the district attorney to try and stop this?
Yes.
And the
I think the
district,
whole office knew. Yes.
okay, and Steve Wilson was the district attorney.
Okay, yes. Sure.
Are you aware of Mr. Tellis speaking with another individual in law enforcement, specifically Mr. Jappy, trying to put all this evidence together?
Yes.
And this evidence that was getting put together was part of an independent investigation that Robert Tellis was
Correct.
conducting.
Yes.
And he was trying to get law enforcement to take it to stop these millions of dollars going into the wrong hands.
Yes.
Right. Right,
Did
Beth.
you and Mr. Tellis
You already lost the
discuss the
election.
suspicious nature of these transactions that were going on prior to his being elected?
Yes.
You had testified prior to the lunch break that you were made aware that Mr. Gehrman had made a request for communications between yourself and Mr. Tellis.
Yes,
Like,
And you had
ruh-roh.
testified that Mr. Tellis, and I think your specific words were, didn't express concerns about these communications between yourself and him.
talking about my not having concerns, that's
Yes.
correct.
Okay. And you said, I believe that his concerns just dealt with vendors' names.
No, those were my concerns. I had no idea what concerns were of Rob's with those.
Okay. And
Rob
you had no
again.
idea because he didn't express to you, oh no, this information can't get out, or
That's
this is
correct.
terrible.
Oh, girl,
Correct.
girl, you could say
Didn't
that's what
seem
we
to
were
be
talking
told.
about in the back seat. That's what we were talking about in the back seat. We were talking about all this stuff in the back seat. That's why we had to meet in secret in clandestine locations like the back seat of my car, because we knew that they were trying to, get Rob out of office so that they can continue to make millions off of the homes of dead people.
So concerned.
No, I don't think we had a conversation about that.
And if it would have been a concern in reference to the emails and things or digital communications
Right.
between yourself and Mr. Tellis, you would have expected him to tell you, hey, I'm afraid these communications are going to be in the journalist's hands.
Correct. Correct.
And were you informed on September 1st that these communications that you were not concerned about, other than some of the vendors and Mr. Tellis was not concerned about, was there a communication that you had with Mr. Tellis right around September 1st concerning the release of this information?
On the first, no.
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 Okay. Leading up to the first?
You talking about when we first got the request?
Yes.
Well, yeah, because there's a lot of communications. So I guess the concern was what was going to be in there. We talk about our vendors, we talk about our estates, we talk about colleagues in emails. So I guess there was some concern about, will our vendors find out that we're not very happy with them, more than anything, or are they going to share personal estate information? But so, yeah, there was an initial concern.
But that concern, when you talk about the personal estate information, you didn't
Mhm.
want these errors or the information of
Right.
dead people's estates being made
Being
public.
made public, correct.
And that was an ethical concern.
It's confidential. You work in a confidential atmosphere. So, yes.
Right. And she wasn't concerned about anything about their alleged relationship getting out because they use that app, Trillion. They weren't communicating on Teams and, work email, I guess. So she wasn't concerned about that. It's more confidentiality of the estates that they were handling.
You had given testimony prior to the lunch break concerning seeing an image outside of Jeff Gehrman's house. Do you recall that? There've
Mhm.
been news releases concerning the
Are you
death
talking about the
of-
vehicle? Images of the vehicle?
before the vehicle. I'm talking-
Images of a person walking?
Correct.
Okay.
Do you recall when those came out?
Those came out, I think, a day or two before the vehicle image.
Okay.
I don't remember what day, but prior to the vehicle.
And I'm going to just publish, and this has been previously published, a calendar,
Mhm.
September 2022. If I told you that it's been learned that Mr. Gehrman was killed on Friday, September 2nd, 2022,
Okay.
is that accurate with your recollection?
Based on all the reports?
Yes.
Yes.
And if I told you that this image of an individual, in the getup, and I'm sure you've seen it since, in
Right.
orange.
The Chinaman hat and the orange vest.
The
and- yeah.
Chinaman
That
hat.
was released on the 5th. Would you have any reason to disagree?
No?
If we had heard testimony yesterday concerning real estate agents that say that they saw this one in particular on the 5th, would that be, or on the 2nd of Friday, would that be inconsistent with your recollection of when this image was released?
No, because then I would have known Friday that this had occurred versus Saturday morning. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
In reference to this image, and it may have been a clip of an individual walking
right.
in this getup, you didn't recognize that as Mr. Tellis.
I did not.
And you had known Mr. Tellis since 2019,
That's correct.
worked with him every day,
Correct.
saw him walk in and out of the office, saw him walk at properties that were being sold as part of his duties as being the public administrator.
Yes.
Can't walk around the back
Seeing
seat.
that
Just
walk
saying.
on TV and that person, You didn't think it was Mr. Tellis, did you?
I don't look at people's gates. So yeah, people have asked me that before. I did not know that was him.
Your concern came about when you saw the vehicle.
Correct.
And you'll agree with me that, I mean, there'd been some discussion online concerning whether the rims matched or not. You could call that questioning?
Yeah.
Sure.
Before the lunch
It's
break. And obviously there was a concern that you expressed that, geez, that vehicle
It
looks
looks
like.
identical. Right?
Dude, it's your
And obviously
car.
there was a concern on Mr. Tellis's part as well, going, yeah, that looks like my vehicle.
Correct.
At no point in time did he ever communicate with you face to face or digitally by the phones or anything else that he was involved with Jeff Garman's
That's
murder.
correct. He said it wasn't him.
Wasn't going to admit it.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Just briefly, Your Honor. Ms. Kennett,
Mhm.
in June of 2022, Robert Tellis lost his primary race. Does that sound familiar?
Yes.
So that would mean he would be out of office as of January of 2023.
Yes.
And so the new public administrator in 2023 would have been Rita Reed.
Correct.
And potentially she could have reversed or changed or done whatever to any policies instituted by Mr. Tellis because she would have been the one in charge.
Correct.
Look at the way he's smiling at her.
So
Oh, it's
his
creepy.
policies were ending, at the time of the murder, about 3 months later. Is that right? Well, September to January.
I
guess.
say she started changing policies probably closer in June after he stopped showing up to the office all the time.
Okay,
She made changes on her own.
okay. So there, because she was sort of the next in line.
She was there to, yep,
Okay, so she
Yes.
started managing how things were going.
correct.
Okay. But officially, at least in January, she would be the public administrator and would be in charge of how things were done.
Correct.
I want to talk about the communications that were going to be released between yourself and Mr. Tellis, and there's other people, obviously. Those were going to be text messages, email, and Teams messages.
Correct.
And you mentioned that your concern was
The
maybe
vendors.
what you might have been saying about vendors.
Correct.
Did you raise any other concerns with Mr. Tellis, like, hey, this is going to cause problems for me. I'm really upset about this.
I did not.
Okay. You
did
just
not.
said, look, I'm concerned about the vendors.
Just that, yes, there was one vendor's name in there, one of our newer realtors I didn't want.
In that group of communications,
Yes.
were there, like personal communications that really didn't have anything to do with work as well?
Probably.
Okay. I mean, probably everybody that uses
Right.
email at work, not every email is,
With Teams, all my other colleagues. So, yep.
yes. But that was included in that group as well.
Yes.
Okay. And when you were interviewed by detectives, I don't know if you remember the date, but does September 7th sound right to you?
Yes.
Okay. So they come to see you on September the 7th?
Mhm.
Is that yes? Sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
And they talked to you about the different images, the images of the figure walking, the person in orange.
Yes.
And then you also talked to them about the vehicle.
Yes.
And I think you said it today that you don't really pay attention to gait, like the person that didn't set off any red flags or alarm bells for you,
It didn't.
but the vehicle did.
Correct.
And that's because you had seen him driving it?
No, never saw him driving it. It would be parked in his spot. Like we had designated spots there for our work, and his was right next to the employee exit and entrance. So there were a few times that we had saw it there.
Okay. And is that why in your communications with him over text, when it was all coming out in the news, you were
I was like, wow, this is
identical?
correct.
And so when you discuss that with detectives, you mentioned that look, that vehicle looks
Yes.
okay. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Yes, thank you. Just briefly, after the time that Mr. Tellis lost his bid, in the primary for reelection,
Yes.
he nonetheless kept working towards trying to preserve the estates of these heirs.
Yes.
And even though he had been elected out of office, he kept trying to stop this corruption that was in existence.
Correct.
Corruption.
Thank you. No further questions.
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Corruption has entered the
Thank you
chat.
very much for your testimony. You may step down. You are excused from your subpoena. Thank you very much for being here. The state may call their next witness.
Call Officer Anthony Mariscal.
Well, we didn't hear anything about the back seat. We didn't get to see any of the videos of the back seat. And she, Roberta Lee Kennett, was witness number 20. They said they had only 20 witnesses, so maybe they've added a few. The prosecution, that is. A little scooch
I swear
behind.
the testimony you're about to give in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
You may be seated. Please state and spell your first and last name for the record.
My first name is Anthony, Anthony. Last name is Mariscal. First letter M as in Mary, Ariscal.
Give me 1 minute. There's another flash drive that I did. Just like the one right before this. Thanks.
Having problems with the overhead projector?
Okay, restart the computer, but we can begin.
Mhm.
Sir, what do you do for a living?
I'm a police officer.
And how long have you been? Where are you a police officer with, or like what department are you with?
I'm currently employed with the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department.
Okay, how long have you been with Metro?
7 years now.
What is your title?
A patrol officer.
All right, what area command are you a part of?
I'm currently assigned to the Summerlin Area Command.
If you could explain to the jury, what is an area command?
An area command is one of various substations that are spread across the Las Vegas Valley to patrol different areas of town.
Okay. I want to turn your attention to September 2nd of 2022. On that day, do you respond to an address of, I believe it's 7216 Bronze Circle in Las Vegas, Clark County?
That is correct, sir.
All right. On that day, were you working on duty?
Wait, stop. This is rewinding for he mouthed thank you to her. I must have been busy. We gotta rewind. We got time for this. Hold on. Where is it?
Trying to stop this corruption that was in existence.
Correct.
Thank you. No further questions.
No, Your Honor, thank you.
He said thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. You may step down. You are excused from your subpoena.
He's giving me creepy vibes.
The state may call their next witness.
Call Officer Anthony Mariscal.
He's following with her with his eyes as she leaves the room. Not trying not to look too obvious. Oh, so creepy.
We're going to stand here.
The whole truth, and please state and
Thonyar.
So I think that they said that there was a patrol officer walking down the street at one point when the neighbors came outside. And that's when it was when the neighbors across the street from Jeff Garriman came outside and they were going to call 911. I think there was a patrol officer coincidentally like on the block or something. I think that's what this witness is. Let's see. Or who this witness is. Everyone hit the like button while we're on pause. I don't want to have to turn off the air conditioning. Thank you. So creepy.
Okay, restart the computer, but we can begin. Sir, what do you do for a living?
I'm a police officer.
And how long have you been? Where are you a police officer with, or like what department are you with?
I'm currently employed with the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department.
Okay, how long have you been with Metro?
7 years now.
What is your title?
A patrol officer.
All right. What area command are you a part of?
I'm currently assigned to the Summerlin Area Command.
If you could explain to the jury, what is an area command?
An area command is one of various substations that are spread across the Las Vegas Valley to patrol different areas of town.
Okay. I want to turn your attention to September 2nd of 2022. On that day, do you respond to an address of, I believe it's 7216 Bronze Circle in Las Vegas, Clark County?
That is correct, sir.
All right. On that day, were you working on duty?
Yes, sir.
I'm assuming since you responded. Were you with a partner? Were you alone? How were you working on that day?
I was alone in my patrol vehicle.
Okay. Was it a black and white vehicle?
Yes.
Okay. So what do you remember there being in terms of like a call for service? What do you remember the basic details being?
Vaguely that it was a suspicious situation call and that there was possibly somebody in medical distress.
Okay. So when you get a call like that and you're driving around, what do you do at that point?
Once we're dispatched, the address comes up in our computer system and we just start heading that way via, the GPS, how we decide to get there. And we're reviewing constant details that are updated in the system by the dispatcher as we're driving en route to that location.
Okay. So as you are driving, what sort of details do you hear? Are there any different details that you're hearing that changed your mind about the circumstances, or is it pretty much the same?
Pretty much the same.
Okay. When you arrive at Bronze Circle, what do you remember about the area that you went to? Is it a commercial, residential neighborhood?
It was a residential area, a cul-de-sac, I believe.
Okay, it's a cul-de-sac. When you arrive, how many other police officers are there?
I was the first one to arrive.
So the first one there. When you are there any citizens in the general area coming towards you to fill you in on what's going on?
There was an elderly white couple standing in front of the target address.
If you could, please tell me a little bit about what their demeanor was like when they approached you.
It was a white male and white female, elderly, as I previously stated. The female appeared to be visibly distraught, crying, and the male subject was a bit in disbelief when I first made contact with him.
Okay.
They were the first witnesses to testify
What do you learn from them, or what are they?
in this trial on day one. The neighbors, I think they were the Baileys, and there was another neighbor. First witnesses up. And it was very sad testimony. They cried.
They tell you?
They state that they're neighbors of a gentleman by the name of Jeff Gurman, and previously, the day before, they had tried to make contact with him because they were sitting in their living room and they had noticed that his garage door was open, which they found to be unusual.
Okay. And then what do they say they do over the course of the next day or the following morning?
That previous day that they referenced the garage, they went to his house and attempted to make contact with him. So they were knocking on his front door numerous times and he wasn't answering. And the male also stated that he had his phone number and had tried to call him numerous times to no avail.
Okay. Do they ultimately relay to you that they discover this man somewhere on his premises?
That is correct.
Do they lead you over to that area?
Yes, I walked up there with the male.
Okay. At that point, are there other officers kind of trickling in at this point?
I was still by myself at that point.
Okay. When you approached the body, did you touch it in any way, or did you just kind of look to see generally what it looked like?
None whatsoever. I just observed the general area.
Is that part of your training, or was that just a personal feeling?
That's standard protocol. Usually when we respond to situations regarding dead bodies or decedents or anything of the sort, the police themselves do not manipulate the scene in any way, shape, or form. Okay.
Was this individual who was on the ground, was he moving or breathing in any way?
No, not that I could discern.
What did he appear to have any apparent blood on him?
A large amount, yes.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about protocol. You see a body, there's a lot of blood, not moving, not breathing. What do you do at that point? What are you supposed to do at that point?
At that point,
That answers our question about how much blood there was at the scene. So a lot of blood.
I got on the radio and I broadcast the dispatch and the responding officers that it was my belief that the subject, Mr. Gurman, was deceased.
Okay. Eventually, do some other patrol officers arrive?
Yes.
What other steps are you taking to preserve the integrity of the crime scene, officer?
Due to the nature of the circumstances of this call, we had to make sure that there was no signs of forced entry to the home or anything that was amiss. So while my partner had arrived and was standing with Mr. German and his neighbors, I decided to check the outer perimeter of the home just to confirm that there wasn't any signs of forced entry or anything else otherwise unusual.
At this time, is it pretty much just the couple officers that are there and this couple that are out in the cul-de-sac at this point?
Myself, my partner, and the couple, yes.
Okay, so there's not like a mountain of citizens pouring out of their homes coming towards you guys, right?
No.
Okay, any real estate agents?
No.
I know it seems like a silly question, but no one from Compass Realty, just to be clear, no one identifying themselves as an employee of Compass Realty?
No.
All right. You walk the perimeter. Do you see anything that catches your attention in terms of like suspects or anything like that?
No, sir.
All right. At some point, do you start to tape off the scene?
I do, yes.
Okay. Why do you do that?
To prevent any of his other neighbors or anybody else that might be in the area from encroaching upon the residence that might otherwise disturb the immediate scene.
Okay.
So you put crime scene tape up when there's a dead body on a lawn? Imagine that, Canton. And it was 115 degrees that day.
Have you ever heard of the term? So when you do your perimeter tape, where do you do it from?
Standard procedure for us is generally to make it as large as possible, just to facilitate as much area for investigation to take place.
Okay, so do you just kind of around the house, the driveway? Where are you doing this at?
Specifically, I did it in front of the house.
All right. Later, is there crime scene tape that blocks off the entrance to Bronze Circle?
To my recollection, I believe so, yes.
You didn't do it per se, but was
No.
it ultimately done?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Have you ever heard of clearing the residence?
Yes.
What is that?
Aside from this particular call, we respond to a variety of other calls for service, such as welfare checks, burglaries, things of that nature. We clear a residence usually with a minimum of a 3-man element if we're trying to take a suspect into custody, if we're conducting a welfare check, any lawful reason that we have entry to make into that home to conduct that.
Officer, did you participate, I just don't know, but did you participate in the clearing of that residence?
I did, yes.
Was there a Sergeant Freese that also arrived at scene that assisted in clearing the residence with you?
That is correct, sir.
Okay. At the time that you arrived there, were you wearing anything that potentially could record the things that you're seeing or experiencing while out on duty?
Yes, sir.
What were you wearing?
My assigned body-worn camera.
Okay. Prior to coming here and testifying, have you had an opportunity to review footage?
We're going to see the body
from
cam
that
footage?
day?
Yes, sir.
At this time, we have states proposed 344, which has been admitted by stipulation. And this time we are going to play Officer Mariscal's body-worn camera. If we could cue over.
Yes, that is correct, Your Honor.
I don't know if we're going to see it. Because if they show it, I may have to, if it's going to show the body, I'm going to have to just take it down real quick. I don't think they're going to show it. They didn't show the autopsy photos.
Screens, so we're going to.
They've been very respectful during this trial with regard to showing things on TV.
Oh, let me stop it right here. Sir, when you activate your body-worn camera, does the audio immediately pick up?
No, sir.
Okay, so how does that work? Why then, if we play it in the first few seconds, why is there no sound? What happens with the camera?
The manufacturer of this particular body camera, there's a approximate 30-second buffering zone where there's no audio before it kicks in.
Okay.
Control 2, I'm reporter. We're making contact with residents on the piece for being cooperative. Is there somebody that's injured around here?
What happened?
Just wait here.
Yesterday was,
Are you a neighbor?
yeah, we're right across
Okay.
the street there. And yesterday, the garage door was open during the afternoon. At night, it wasn't closed, so we came over and we got his cell number, so we're trying to call him. We're trying to call him, and we got no answer, so we thought, oh, you know, when it got dark.
So I want
and-
I'd like to stop right there for a second. You
He's still really affected by this officer. You can tell he's watching this. He's so affected by it still. So soft spoken. He's a great witness.
said we have a 419. What does that stand for?
That is our Metro radio code to identify a dead body.
But the only thing I could do is hold the red cord and lower the garage door, because you couldn't get a hold of him down on the door. Left in messages, and he, you know, no answer, so I came over. I knocked and rang his bell because I was going to make a wellness call, because he does go out of town. He does go out of town, and it's a holiday. We thought, and then he's flying, and then I was going to call for a wellness call once I'm not sure, and I walked around here because I was going to go in the back garden.
Does he live alone?
Yeah, this is, his name is Jeff Gurman. He's the RJ reporter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so,
Let me just, I'm kind of listening to the radio at the same time. Did you say that his garage was open?
yeah, I pulled the cord on it and lowered it down because.
That was last night?
Last night.
At what time?
Probably, what time did we come over last night? I think it was.
Sundown's usually like around close to 8 p.m.
Yeah, probably around there.
Okay. So, you hadn't heard from him in a while? Is that what it
That
was?
was the weekend. Well, no, I see Jeff, he's got. And with the door being open, that's very unusual.
The garage door.
The garage door, so, you know, we said, well, let's run it down, hopefully a forward, maybe Connie, maybe in the Midwest, you know.
Did you notice anything unusual inside the garage?
No, it's housing.
Okay. After you closed the garage, did you like knock on the front door, try to get hold of
Yeah,
him?
we were trying to do all that before, and there was absolutely no answer. We kept leaving messages on his voicemail.
Okay.
Well, yesterday afternoon, I don't know if that has anything to do with it, it was a red car. I was sitting in the living room over here, and I just happened to glance out the window, and there was a red, it looked like that you could hear something, it was out of the view on, and it went away.
That was yesterday?
Yesterday.
At what time was that?
Does he have binoculars in his hand? The neighbor? I think he's got binoculars in his hand.
Oh, that was what time?
Is that your guys' house?
Yeah.
You have cameras? Is it,
I do, and unfortunately, you know, we've been having problems, so I can't get into it.
okay. Okay. Give me just a second. We'll probably get you guys on a written statement real quick, but you guys agree to that. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for right now. There's like some trauma to his neck. Oh, yeah. They said yesterday at around 8 p.m. approximately, they noticed his garage door was open. They were knocking on his door prior to that.
If you go over to your house, we'll be over in a second, okay?
They were knocking on his door prior to that, and they weren't getting an answer. They said before that, earlier in the afternoon, a red sedan was parked in front of his house, but those cameras that they have don't work.
Is it looking from his neck or?
A red sedan.
I almost want to say it's his neck, dude, because there's like a tear in his shirt. Yeah, it definitely looks like trauma to his neck. They said that his car was in his garage. They didn't notice anything unusual inside the garage.
Cubic 16.
I'm gonna check the outer perimeter of the house.
So yeah, holy now probably about 60, a fair amount of blood, possibly everything. So predictor 60 reaction is kind of wrong.
Anybody else holding their breath?
89, 812, give me a call when you have something. Jappy. Robert, there's two give me.
Sorry, last one.
Robert, there's two give me. Just spoke with the resident who has a camera. We did observe the male walk by at a 10-11 break. Shows white shirt with the red lettering on the back and a white visor on the helmet. He just had a phone in his hand, negative 8-4-13 on the camera.
Everything else is secure. Yeah, I'm gonna put it up right now. Yeah, he's at the end of the street. I'll put it up right here.
Robert, there's two TV. Just second camera angle. Just to reconfirm. Negative 413 in his hand whatsoever, just a phone break. Just update this to a 416, please, where it's clear. In case there is any future calls, he appeared to have an orange tank on.
I'll be with you in a moment, sir.
Send me the next two available units so we can make sure we have this whole thing contained. Time is that home? Robert, 34 Robert. That's Frank, please.
That's how you put crime scene tape up, folks.
I'll keep that unit free. Give me your charge on things. I didn't know just give us a car. What is it?
He said that we bring the other unit on the call.
Whatever they need.
The light bulb? Okay.
Pause it here. So essentially you kind of finish up sealing off the house, is that right?
Yes, sir.
If we move a little bit farther forward, I take it you kind of speak to the neighbors a little bit, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And I guess you get, what are we looking at here? Whose home are you in at this point?
This is the home of the woman that you see pictured on screen now.
Okay, so you maybe go speak with them briefly. Is
Yes.
that what, is
Yes,
that
sir.
what you do? Yeah. And then eventually, what are we looking at here?
At this point, this is when we've made entry into Mr. Gurman's home and is clearing it.
Okay. All right, and what are we looking at here?
This is the garage of the woman's home that I previously mentioned.
And why are you in there?
I'm with her husband, and I was attempting to assist him in operating his video surveillance system to possibly obtain footage of the red vehicle that they had mentioned.
Looking for footage of the red vehicle.
Thank you very much. I have no further questions for this witness.
They noticed everything.
Examination.
Yes, thank you. Officer, we see you arrive, and when you came into contact with a fairly mild-mannered, well-spoken gentleman, Roy Bailey. He was the gentleman that you were speaking to initially in front of the residence. That was captured on video, correct?
Are you referring to the neighbor?
Yes.
Yeah, that is correct, sir.
It's Metro's policy that you wear body cam, and that as a patrol officer, and that when you have civilian contact, you record it. Fair to say?
Yes, sir.
In this case, he was not the subject of an investigation, the target of investigation, but nonetheless, we have your contact with him captured, and we had the benefit of viewing that this afternoon, correct?
That's correct.
You arrived a little after 5:30 on this date, September 3rd, give or take. And trust me, it's not a trick question. I mean, you can see up here, we have a time later on, but you arrived right around 5:30 in the afternoon, September 3rd.
5:30 in the afternoon?
Yes.
Robert, that's Google time.
What would that be in normal people's time?
I don't know the conversion. but
Fair
it's-
enough.
In normal people's time?
Okay.
What?
Point being is you come into contact, and you were the first recorded law enforcement that we know of, correct? And that's captured on the body cam.
Yes, sir. I was first to arrive on scene.
We don't know what proceeded prior to your arrival, correct?
No, sir.
It's on record, that's recorded, fair enough. And we have you securing the scene. It says 17:46, but could you give us what time that would be in body cam time?
Just bear with me for a second.
Sure.
In body cam time? What are they talking about? Did I miss something? Was my mind wandering?
That would be the
I was
time
thinking
that you
Karen
previously mentioned.
And would it be 10:30 maybe in the morning, give or take?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and I have no reason to contradict your recollection or your review of the time. I'm just trying to make it clear and so the record's clear. From that point forward, we have the benefit of body cam. Interactions are captured. The scene is captured, things of that nature. Fair to say?
Yes, sir.
And you secure the area about 10 minutes after you come into contact with Mr. Bailey, the neighbor.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Was you redirect? Thank you very much for your testimony here today.
Wait.
You may step down. You are excused from your subpoena. Thank you for being here today. The state may call their
For
next
real?
witness.
Hold on, for real? It was military time? And he said, what is it in real people? The attorney couldn't do military time conversion? Really? Okay, I thought maybe it was GMT or something. All right.
Bradley Freese. Please remain standing.
Please state and spell your first and last name for the record.
My name is Bradley Freese, Bradley. My last name is Friess.
Sir, what do you do for a living?
I am a police sergeant with Las Vegas Metro Police,
And how long have you been with Metro?
17 years.
What is your current title?
Currently, I am a supervisor with the abuse and neglect section.
Okay. I want to turn your attention to September 2nd of 2022. At that time, did you hold a different position within Metro?
Yes, I did. I was a patrol sergeant, sorry.
Okay. And what was the area command that you were affiliated with?
Summerlin Area Command.
All right. Do you respond to 7216 Bronze Circle at approximately sometime after 10:30 in the morning?
Yes,
On
I
that
did.
day? Okay. When you go out there or when you were kind of alerted, what are the basic details that you recall hearing?
The basic details that I heard is that there was a suspicious situation and the neighbor had found their neighbor lying on the ground and believed they were possibly deceased. And then officers were dispatched to that location.
Okay, so when you hear that, do you start to make your way over?
Not immediately. Generally, I will wait to get a confirmation or something like that. I'll start heading that way, but depending on who else is, if there's other supervisors, I may or may not head that way right away.
Do you ultimately do that in this case?
Yes, I did.
Okay. When you do arrive, is there any crime scene tape put up that you can remember to help preserve the scene?
Yes, there was crime scene tape and marked police vehicles at the end of the cul-de-sac, blocking off any vehicles driving down the cul-de-sac, as well as at the home itself, there was some crime scene tape.
Oh my gosh,
When
they
you-
blocked
when
off
you
the street
arrive at
even.
the scene, who appears to be outside?
When I arrived there, the only people that I remember seeing were other officers that were there.
Okay. Do you recall any regular citizens coming through?
Not that I recall, no.
Any real estate agents?
No.
All right. When you arrive, what do you decide to do at that point with your fellow officers?
When I first arrived, we needed to make sure that there were no additional people inside the residence that needed assistance. So we cleared the residence, make sure nobody else was inside the home. And then after that, we started to stabilize, make sure everything was preserved for detectives to respond.
Okay. Are you familiar with something that is called a CAD log?
Yes.
And what is a CAD log?
A CAD log is basically the log as an event is updated in our computer system. It is put in this log and it details, each line details what the officers say over the radio to the dispatcher, and the dispatcher types in this log, which is preserved in that CAD log.
Okay. Is that sometimes referred to as an audit trail?
Correct.
Okay. Additionally, can CAD logs organize people in terms of kind of the chronology with when they arrive on a scene?
Yes.
Can they do that? So there's other forms that kind of show the chronology of people showing up.
Yes.
And it lists maybe their name and their time and things of that nature. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. In preparation for testifying, have you reviewed the CAD log, an audit trail, as well as a chronological log of who was arriving at scene?
Yes, I did.
Okay. At this time, we're going to ask permission to admit states proposed 346 and 347, which I believe is admitted by stipulation.
Correct.
All right, so I'd like to publish just page 1 of states 346. Back out a little bit. All right. If we can see this here in the upper left-hand corner, it lists an address. Is that the address that you guys kind of respond to?
Yes, sir.
What does cross slow mean in the middle here? What's that signify?
That is the closest cross street with that particular address.
At the bottom here, or at least in the middle here, it says create, and it says 9/3/2022 at 10:33:31. What does that signify?
That is the date and time the event was created.
Okay, and so there's an event number that's associated with this. Is that right?
Correct.
What is an event number?
The event number is how our police department logs and catalogs anything that's associated with a particular event, whether it's a car stop or a crime or anything like that.
Okay, so if someone calls 911 at the beginning of the day, maybe that's the first event of the day, and it just kind of goes on and on and on.
Correct.
Is this the event number up here?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Now, I want to, you mentioned that the create date was at 10:33:31. When you look at this first entry here, is that kind of what it's signifying here?
Yes.
All right. The next entry here says, can you, this is in shorthand, but can you interpret that for us?
Sure. Conference with medical. PR found neighbor on ground on side yard covered in blood. Appears 419.
What does PR mean?
PR is a person reporting.
Okay. And what does appears 419 mean?
Appears 419. 419 is our radio code for dead body.
Okay. We look here and we start seeing at this entry at 10:34:38, it says unit LV2V6TV stat AS. What does AS stand for?
That stands for assigned.
Okay. And what is that unit, kind of those numbers and that symbol, LV2V6TV? What does that mean?
So the LV is just, the actual call sign is the 2V6TV. And what that stands for, 2 is the shift indicator, 2 is day shift, 3 is swing shift, 1 is graveyard. V is a particular sector beat that unit is responsible for. And then the 6 is that officer's assigned number, whether 1 through 6. And then TV is short for a tactical vehicle.
We go to 10:34:44. It indicates dispatch LV/.
This is the downside of the overhead projector. The exhibits are very dark and we can't read them. So we're going to have to just go by what they say.
2V13 officers LV Mariscal Anthony. What does that mean?
That indicates
Smash
that
it.
2 Victor 13 Officer Mariscal was dispatched to the event.
Okay, and then right below that, it has that same call sign being AS, meaning assigned.
Correct.
Right below that, it says ER, and using that same call sign of Officer Mariscal. What does that mean?
ER means en route.
Okay, so as we kind of look at this log, we'll see a different call sign a little bit lower here. That means that Officer Tyler Burgess is being assigned at 10:34:51. Am I reading that essentially right?
Yes, sir.
And then we've got another entry down here. What does this mean?
It says neighbor male, approximately 50 years old, negative breathing, meaning not breathing, changed colors.
Okay, so the call sign for Officer Mariscal was 2 Victor 13, correct?
Correct.
When we look at page 2, we look at this entry here at 10:37:08. It says 2 Victor 13 AR. What does AR mean?
That is short for arrived.
Okay, so essentially what this log does is it shows us who is arriving and who's coming and when they go or if they leave. Would that be fair?
Correct.
All right. You've had a chance
Imagine
to
that.
also review the 31 page, and I'm publishing 347, this chronological log of officers and law enforcement personnel with Metro that responded to the scene. Is that correct?
That is correct.
You've been through all 31 pages reviewing the names, correct?
Yes.
Did you see the name Derek Jappy anywhere on that catalog?
No, I did not.
Okay. On that day, were you also wearing body-worn camera?
Yes, I was.
Okay.
Jappy is the
This
one I
time
think
if we could switch over.
defendant's going to say is trying to frame him.
And we're going to play state.
Detective Jappy.
344.
AAPPE.
So is this your body cam, sir?
Yes, sir.
And you are not at the location in question. Would that be correct?
That is correct.
All right, we are going to spare everyone. I take it this is you driving there?
Yes.
Beth, I didn't time you out. Maybe it was a mistake. No idea.
So we're resuming at 20 minutes and 5 seconds.
Right on, JD.
I just arrived. Give me just a minute. I'll let you know. How many do you have in an office still? Okay, that should be sufficient. I'll let you know here in just a minute. Go ahead, sir. So what's the cross street? Bronze and what? Copy. It'll be a winter green and bronze. Okay. Fair amount of blood, probably from the neck area, so we're making sure. Okay. Neighbor said, today, yesterday, saw a red SUV parked here, can't really describe it that well, so the garage door was open about 8 o'clock. Goes outside, SUV's gone, garage is still open, can't get a hold of this dude, didn't know where he's at. So neighbor goes in, pulls the door, closes the garage. Okay, so it should be unlocked. Okay. That's it, no family, no other inside, and no animals. So this dude was a crime reporter for the yard bill, so okay. That's what we're at. Okay. Okay. All right, so we're going to the garage door. Okay, we'll get up. Okay. All right. Yeah. I'm gonna set a glove. I got a new stack on my desk. It's fine.
Let me just stop for 1 second. You've been doing this for how long?
17 years.
I take in your 17 years, you've been to a lot of scenes. Would that be fair?
Yes.
How would you describe this? Is this a dynamic or more like a sterile scene?
It's not a dynamic scene, but there are still some unknowns for us, so it's not quite static yet.
Okay. And so, but I guess you've been to scenes where there's like lots of people running around and people coming out of the woodworks to kind of offer opinions about things they've seen. Is this really one of those scenes?
No.
Okay. Just resuming play.
Hold on, ma'am. Give us just a minute, okay? Yeah, we're gonna move it right now. We're gonna go in and make sure nobody's saying, hang out over there for us, okay?
Why are you asking her to do that? Why are you asking her to stay on the other side of the street?
Just to kind of maintain the integrity of the scene where we have, because there's only limited resources there. We needed to make sure we went into the home safely, and I don't want somebody else kind of drawing our attention elsewhere.
Understood.
Before you go in, make sure everybody's ready, so hold on. Good? All right.
Metro Police, if there's anybody in here, make yourself known.
Okay. I got the kitchen.
Say move up, move over here, and you hug that wall. If you want to go with them, then I'll cover it on here.
Beth, I've already replied to you. Nobody timed you out. I don't know what happened. Can you please stop talking about it? Thank you. It's distracting me.
It's got a kitchen back here.
Probable cause,
The
right?
kitchen kind of looks like it's closed off to the right,
Crazy.
and so it wraps up around to the left. So I'm just gonna push through. Ready? Yep. Straight room, straight room. All right. Clear back here. It is locked.
I checked the outside already.
Visual clearance from here. It looks like it's clear.
Yeah, before we got here.
Day 12 Coco residence is clear. All right. Any sign of a struggle or doors open or anything like that in there? Whatever you guys saw? Okay. All right. Where's the right here?
The only thing is this, the gravel is slightly disturbed right here.
Right here?
Really right
Oh,
there.
yeah.
Gravel and everything else.
We'll stop it here for a second. Sergeant, I noticed that you didn't touch the body in any way. Why did you do that?
Because at this point, I don't know what we have. I don't know exactly what happened. So I'm not going to touch anything in case there's anything of evidentiary value. And allow detectives to come out and they can do that.
Okay. And when you have a dead body, do people start to touch the body before the coroner investigator shows up, or do they usually leave it alone?
Usually they leave it alone.
Okay. Resuming at
I
27:12.
couldn't see real well. You said there's a cut on his neck right there?
Looks like on the left side.
Yeah, like by the shirt there, where the shirt's kind of like a hole in the shirt there. Okay. All right. How'd you guys hang out? Did you guys make contact with anybody over here? When you guys knock on the door, see if anybody's there. Okay, yeah, I'll talk to him, and then I'll have you just hang out over here. Well, somewhere over here, so we'll just don't let anybody come over to the body.
I already talked to her. I already got her. Yeah.
I didn't see cameras.
Hey, when is last night? What time was it that he came over here?
We said December 1.
Okay, around 8 o'clock-ish. How does he know this guy? His neighbor?
Mom, Bernice, you can. He said he came over yesterday. It's okay. Right, he came by this morning. So then, that's fine.
Pause it here. Move forward a little bit. So you essentially walk out past Front Circle. And then who is this individual here?
That is my lieutenant.
Okay. Resuming at 31:20.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, possibility. So, because there's no, he said it looks like there's blood on his neck, but there's no, you can't see anything of where it's coming from. So it very well could have come out of his mouth or whatever the case is. Could have had a heart attack, I don't know. So I was gonna call the coroner, have the coroner come out. PD's in or out, they can do their thing. And then if coroner determines that it's gonna be suspicious, then we'll start notifying homicide. Unless you want me to call them now, give them a heads up and see if they want to send somebody out.
Have the coroner come out.
Okay.
Let's have the coroner come out. I agree. Just looking at it, it really looks like he just had a sudden drop. And
Yeah.
So let's do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Request a coroner and I usually.
So ultimately, you're the one that radios in to bring in the coroner's office.
Correct.
Okay. I have no further questions for this witness.
No questions, Your Honor.
Okay. Thank you very much for your testimony here today. You may step down.
No questions,
You are
okay.
excused from your subpoena.
Thank you.
You may call your next witness.
Okay. We are going to call Detective Derek Jappy.
Oh, here comes the one that he's going to say is framing him. It's going to be good. Cottage for Jeff Gehrman. Thank you, Laura.
I think I'm okay.
Detective Jappy coming up. He's the one that he says is framing him. This is witness number 23. We're on day 3 of this trial. The prosecution said they were only having 20 witnesses, but I guess there's a couple more.
Please step up to the witness stand. Remain standing, raise your right hand, face the front.
You do solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
You may be seated. Please state and spell your first and last name for the record.
Yeah, my name is Derek Jappy, Derek, Jappe. Hello, sir. How are you?
Doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. If you could tell this jury what you do for a living.
Yes, I'm a detective with the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department.
All right. How long have you been with Metro?
I've been employed for 17 years.
Sounds very nervous.
What division or what unit are you currently assigned to?
I'm assigned to the criminal intelligence section and a detective in the public corruption squad.
All right. Before we get to that, prior to, how long have you been in criminal intelligence for?
6 years.
All right. Prior to that, where were you?
So I was a patrol officer. From there, I went to a problem solving unit. Then I became a detective in probably 11 years ago in the construction theft unit. Then I was a detective in an auto theft task force, the commercial robbery section, and then public corruption squad.
Okay. 1 second.
Somebody's blowing their nose right in the microphone. What? Okay.
All right. So tell us a little bit about what criminal intelligence public corruption squad does.
Yeah, so we investigate anybody that holds public trust. If you're in a position where the public should trust what you're doing, we would do those type of investigations.
All right. So you've investigated public officials in the past?
Yes, the type of people that we investigate are typically police officers, lawyers, judges, politicians, things along those lines.
All right. I want to talk a little bit about someone by the name of Robert Tellis. Do you know
Someone
Robert
by the
Tellis?
name of, he's
Yes, I do.
sitting at the
Do you see him
table.
here in the courtroom today?
Yes, I do.
Could you please point out where he is and describe an article of clothing that he's wearing?
Yes, he's a gentleman over here wearing a gray suit.
And the very poorly tied tie.
What sort of color shirt is he
To
wearing?
the far right. Of the
All right,
table.
let the record reflect the witness has identified the defendant. So if we could, tell me a little bit about how you get put in contact with the defendant.
In the beginning of March of 2022, through my chain of command, I was asked to contact Mr. Tellis, reference information that he had, or that he believed that there was corruption that was taking place within the probate court.
Okay, and so that is approximately 6 months before Jeff Gehrman dies. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. At that time, what position did Robert Tellis hold within Clark County?
Yes, he was the elected public administrator in Clark County, Nevada.
All right. When you meet with him, do you meet with him in March?
Yes, I do.
All right. And when you meet with him in March, is it in person at first? Is it over a phone call? How does it work?
Initially, it was a phone call. After the phone call, he briefly discussed the allegations that he had through his own investigation. From there, he sent me an email outlining his investigation. And then a couple days after that, we met in person to further discuss what his investigation has showed.
Do you remember the date that meeting occurred on?
I believe it is March 6th or March 7th of 2022.
Okay. So if you could, who did Mr. Tellis allege was doing something inappropriate in the world of public administration?
It was Compass Realty and then employees within Compass Realty.
Okay. What did he say Compass was doing with people who pass away who don't have wills?
There's multiple allegations that Ms. Schultz is claiming. Some of those allegations were that Compass Realty was not notifying the next of kin that they were taking possession of their residence. Secondly, that they were filing false documents to the court, not showing the actual value of the residence, as well as we're selling the residences to employees of Compass Realty, which would be a violation of that statute.
Okay. When Mr. Tellis brought this information to you, did he provide supplementary information to back up some of the things that he was telling you about?
Yes, he did.
Okay. When he came to you, did you take his allegations seriously?
Yes, of course.
All right. If you could, tell us a little bit about what happens when someone dies. Let's just use an example of a house. So, because you investigate all of this for a while, would that be fair?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So when someone dies, and let's say they own a house and they don't have a will, what kind of happens to the house?
The house would just sit vacant if there's no family members that they can get a hold of, or if there's no one if a person dies and there's no one that can be contacted, the house goes into like a vacant status. From there, it will sit that way unless there's a next of kin or unless there's a will. From that point, if there is no next of kin, it just stays empty.
Okay. So do you have an example? Let's say the police enter a home and they find someone's passed away inside the home, and they determine that this person doesn't have a will. Is there someone that the police would contact to get them involved with administering this estate?
Yes, if someone passes away inside their house and police are notified, we would contact the public administrator's office to come take possession of that residence.
Okay, and then at that point, they would take over and engage in the process, say fixing up the home, and then ultimately maybe reselling it to set up proceeds for next of kin or something along those lines.
Correct.
Okay, but is there another scenario where, let's say, the public administrator's office is not informed, where a private real estate company could somehow insert itself?
Yes, from my understanding, if someone passes away and they're not inside the residence and there is no next of kin, then that house, as we say, sits vacant. When it sits vacant, either there's liens put on the house through various utility companies, or there are delinquent taxes, things along those lines, which would notify realty companies or probate lawyers that the house is vacant.
So essentially, the bills start to pile up.
Correct.
And if a real estate company is watching liens being filed with court systems, they can learn, oh, we potentially have a vacant house.
Yes.
At that point, can a company file something with the court to become an independent administrator, independent of the PA's office?
Yes.
Okay. And is that essentially how Compass's role fits in, inserting themselves as an administrator?
Correct. And it could either be an independent administrator or a summary administrator.
Okay. And generally,
Thank you, Jody Arrington, for the super chat, for thanking me. You rock. You rock, girl. Thank you.
what's the difference?
The difference is the value of the profit that would be made. If it's less than $300,000, then it'd be a summary administrator. If it's more, then it'd be an independent administrator.
So if you have a home that's under 300,000, how much oversight is there compared to a home that's worth more than 300K?
There's a lot less oversight if it's less than.
And so essentially, Mr. Tellis is reporting to you that he believed that Compass was stepping in on these homes where the bills are piling up and they are essentially selling them, not notifying next of kin, and making a profit by selling it to other employees of the company
Yes.
in general. Okay. Okay. So
Sounds like a conspiracy
you
theory.
take it serious. Do you take steps to see if you can corroborate stuff that the defendant is telling you?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Do you examine county recorder sites?
Yes.
Do you examine the courts, like the 8th Judicial Court website, to see what is being filed in open court?
Yes, that's correct.
Do you examine to see when, let's say, Compass Realty were to take over a home, whether or not they'd hold on to the house or flip it really quick? Did you look into that?
Yes. Not only the immediate purchaser of the house, but we even went, and if the house is sold multiple times after that, we looked into the people that purchased the house if it was sold 2 to 3 times in succession.
Did you take steps to subpoena bank records?
Yes, we did.
Okay. So you're doing that. I want to talk about the notification part too.
Tara, he reminds me of Jimmy Smits. Somebody said that yesterday and I can't unsee it.
Did you have a chance to study the Nevada statutes that govern notifying next of kin when these situations pop up?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know something? Have you ever heard of something called certified mail?
Yes.
Could you tell this jury what certified mail is?
Certified mail is if you're going to send a letter to someone, it has a form on the front of it. Once the letter gets delivered, whoever accepts the letter signs for it saying that they received this letter, and then that gets, in most cases, sent back to the person who sent the letter to let them know that it has been received.
Okay. When you examine the statutes regarding this process, some company or person coming in to be an independent administrator, was there a requirement in the statutes to have something like certified mail?
No, there's not.
Okay. So in a certified mail situation, whoever gets the notification would have in theory had to sign it, and then you'd have proof like, hey, I have their signature, they were notified, right?
Correct.
But the laws on the books didn't require that in this scenario.
Correct.
Okay. So
Rob
when
Schneider
you started
too.
looking
Yep.
into whether or not people were notified, what were kind of the results?
There are mixed results.
Meaning what?
Some people stated that they were notified, and then others said they had no idea about it.
And just to be clear, we're specifically talking about people who had Compass Realty take over as an independent administrator or a summary administrator.
Correct. So through our research,
All right, there he is again. Hold on. Bailiff by the back, bailiff by the door. Look at him. He's reclining like he's at home in his lazy boy with his arms like this. What is he doing? It's not a good look for this courtroom. I had such high hopes for this courtroom. Sheesh. It's not a good look. Am I overreacting? Come on. He's a bailiff or a court officer. He should not be behaving that way. You're not in your living room, sir. You're at work.
An administrator or a summary administrator.
Correct. So through our research, in the documents that were filed with the court through Compass Realty, it would oftentimes state who the next of kin was that they attempted to notify or that they found through their own research. Those are the people that we contacted. And if there weren't next of kins listed, we would try to find our own, through our own research, we'd find next of kins. And those are the people that we contacted. And that's some of those people said they were notified, others said they were not.
All right. And now I want to turn your attention to May of 2022. That's about 2 months after you start investigating Compass Realty and speaking with Mr. Tellis. At that time, do you become aware of a series of articles written by Jeff Garriman about Robert Tellis?
Yes, I do.
And in general, it's kind of alleging there's like bullying in the office and an accusation of affair, things like that. Correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
During that time, did you have interactions with the defendant?
Yes, I did.
Based on what you saw or what you heard from the defendant, how did he feel about those articles that Garriman wrote about him?
He was upset about them.
Okay. What did he say about Jeff Garriman?
Cheech.
Actually, Jeff here is just a foundation. We get
Cheech.
Sure.
It's only like the fourth objection during the entire trial.
Did you have conversations in May of 2022 with Mr. Tellis?
Yes, I did.
Do you recall speaking with him about the defendant's opinion of Jeff Garriman and why he wrote those articles?
Yes, I do.
You don't want to.
Do you remember where you were?
I don't recall where I was at.
Do you remember if it was over the phone or in person?
I had been either over the phone, either through a voice conversation or text messages.
Okay. In general, what did the defendant say about why Mr. Guerin was doing this?
He said that he just wanted to sell papers and that he didn't want the full story or to share the full story.
Okay. Did the defendant ever tell you about something that he believed would shed light on what was really happening in the public administration's office?
Yes, he did.
What did he tell you that you should look at, or what did he refer you to?
He referred me to a website where he shared his side of the story.
And at this time,
Started a website.
is there an election going on?
Yes.
Okay. So he's running for election and these things are coming out.
Correct.
Did he seem concerned about the election? If you know, I don't know if you know, but based on your reaction, did he seem concerned?
Our conversations weren't along those lines. So.
Okay. I want to turn your attention to May 16th. On that date, does the defendant also approach you about another issue he is concerned about?
Yes.
Okay. What does he approach you about?
This is a phone conversation after the article was written. Roberta Lee Knet was receiving a bunch of text messages that he believed were harassing in nature, and he asked if that would be something that I'd be willing to investigate.
Did you in fact investigate that?
Yes, I did.
Okay. What did you do with that information?
A few days later, Mr. Tellis sent me screenshots of the text messages that were received. I forwarded those text messages to the district attorney's office and had them review them to see if it fit any harassment or annoying, threatening phone call types crime.
Oh, what? Wait a second. I don't know what just happened, but I have YouTube Premium. I have never had a commercial on YouTube in my life, and that was so jarring and so disturbing. But apparently, YouTube kicked me off, and I had to re-sign in. So, yeah, everything, my whole browser is paused. Why? Why? Why are you doing that to me? Now, how am I going to find my place? The full moon is in full effect. I can't recall whoever said that earlier, or I would give you full credit for it. But what? The actual what? And now it's going to buffer? I'm on Ethernet, so there's no excuse about the internet. Well, let's see if they're getting it in the long crime chat. Come on, man.
Probate cells.
I don't even know where we were in the testimony.
When Mr. Tellis brought this information to you, did he provide supplementary information to
as it was Compass Realty and then employees within Compass Realty.
After the primary loss, location information? Are you talking about
coming in, outgoing such as location information? PIN register is
acquire what's called a PIN
register.
register.
Yeah.
And additionally, do you use that phones and things like that?
Sell many houses before Mr. Tellis, and then after the house was taken away from her, it have sold. We looked into the houses that they have sold specifically since Mr. Tellis took. We did a similar thing. So
this is really annoying.
Names of multiple realtors at the public administrator's office.
But I just want to point out here, because someone pointed out that in this exact same courthouse is where that defendant leapt over the bench and tackled that female judge. Same courthouse. And yeah, was it a guy like this guy who was sitting in the back of the courtroom, airing his pits out? Like what?
Had been using.
All right, let's put this back on and see if we're near where we were. We weren't that much behind, right? Weren't we kind of like on time?
We looked into the houses that they have sold since, like I said, he took office, and we're able to see a pattern of multiple realtors being used, and then from the time that Miss McMahon said that the house was taken away from her, it seemed like the houses went specifically to one realtor. That realtor, based on our research, didn't sell many houses before he met Mr. Tellis. And then after he met Mr. Tellis, the amount of homes that he sold specifically for the public administrator's office substantially increased.
Oh,
So do you
so
take steps
Tellis
like,
was the
I don't know,
one
collecting
showing
people's
favoritism.
phones and things like that?
Yes,
Okay, you do records requests and things of that nature.
correct.
Do you subpoena bank records as well?
Yes,
And additionally, do you apply for and acquire what's called a pen register?
yes, I do.
What is a pen register?
PIN register is a search warrant that we do to collect phone data information such as location information and incoming and outgoing contact with that phone, either text messages or voice calls.
And so when you say location information, are you talking about when a phone kind of interacts with a cell site?
Yes,
And sometimes are those referred to as historical phone records?
correct.
Because we're trying to see where a phone is geographically when it's interacting with a tower.
Yes,
Okay, so you get information like that. Additionally, do you institute surveillance on Mr. Tellis?
yes, I do.
All right. And was the pen register in effect in early September?
Yes, it was.
Were you surveilling in early September?
Yes,
Okay. I want to turn your attention to September 2nd. Do you become aware that Jeff Garriman is murdered on that day?
yes, I was.
Detective, was surveillance instituted on the defendant on September 2nd, 2022?
No, it was not.
Do you remember why?
Surveillance was conducted on Mr. Tellis the day prior, so September 1st, 2022.
So why stop? What's the deal with that?
Typically in our line of work, we don't want to do surveillance on a subject multiple days in a row. We typically have the same cars, and if someone starts noticing a same car or same person behind them multiple days in a row, they can get suspicious. So we like to space out our surveillances so that people can't notice cars.
Okay. So the day before, and this was the day off.
Correct.
All right. Now, I have another question to ask you. It's a bit of a burning question. Detective Jappy, did you go to 7216 Bronze Circle on the day Jeff Garriman was murdered?
No, I did not.
All right. Now, later, I don't know if it's that evening or the very next day, do you attend a briefing with Metro regarding the Garriman murder?
Yes, I believe it was that evening at our headquarters.
Okay. Fair to say, given he was a reporter, this was kind of a big deal. It had some notoriety, at least certainly media notoriety.
Correct.
Okay. Did you provide those historical phone records in the pen register to the lead detective in this case, Detective Gaddis?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Did you mention that you were aware of these articles that came up as well?
Yes.
Okay. At that point, who, as far as you know, who is handling the investigation of the Garriman murder?
Detective Gaddis.
Okay. Are you an integral role? Are they saying like ride shotgun with me on this? Is that what's happening?
No.
Okay. So homicide's handling.
Correct.
So then I have another question for you. As of September 2nd, Jeff Garriman dies. Do you, for some reason, stop doing your Compass investigation or your Tellis investigation?
No, both those investigations still continue.
All right.
Running
So now I
parallel.
want to turn your attention to September 7th of 2022. On that day, are you contacted by Detective Justine Gaddis?
Yes, I am.
Does she ask you to meet her somewhere?
Yes.
And where are you supposed to meet her at?
She called me and asked me if I can meet her at the Summerlin Area Command.
And why did you have to go over there?
Mr. Tellis was present there, and she asked if I could come assist her in the interview.
Okay. At that time, though, is a buccal swab taken from Mr. Tellis pursuant to a search warrant?
That was prior to my arrival.
Okay, so you're not there. Are you aware, though, a buccal's being taken on that day?
Yes.
All right. Are you also aware of a warrant being acquired to perform a search at his residence?
Yes, I am.
Because this is all happening on the 7th, right?
Correct.
Detective Jappy, did you participate in the search warrant at the defendant's home on September 7th, 2022?
No, I did not.
Well, he just shot a hole in the defense's theory because the defense's theory is that Jappy framed him because he got into the house on the day they executed the search warrant and put those cut up sneakers in there, cheap sneakers from Ross or Marshalls, those imitation Nikes that offended the fashionista sense of Zachary our favorite witness so far. Aside from, well, I think he's our favorite witness so far. I think we can agree on that. But he did not execute the search warrant. There you go.
Who drops off the defendant at his house on the 7th?
It was Detective Gaddis and I.
After you drop him off, do you become aware that the DNA results have come back?
Yes.
Do you learn that there's a plan in place at that point to place the defendant under arrest?
Yes, I do.
Do you go home at that point in time, or where do you go at that point?
I was in the vicinity of Mr. Tellis's residence.
Okay. And are you tasked with anything on that day?
Yes.
What are you tasked to do?
I was asked to call Mr. Tellis and ask him if he could come outside of his house and surrender to us.
Do you have an understanding as to why you were selected?
Yes.
Why?
One, based on my rapport with Mr. Tellis, we had a
rapport.
I would say a long-standing relationship for 6 months. We talked somewhat frequently, and also I'm a member of our crisis negotiation team.
What is the crisis negotiation team?
We are individuals within Metro that have specialized training in crisis negotiation. So if someone is in a mental state where they are refusing to come out of the residence, either barricaded inside the residence or have hostages or want to harm themselves, we have specialized training, and we respond to talk to those individuals to try to get them to get into a mental state where they're ready to start thinking rationally again and exit whatever place they're in.
And potentially de-escalate a potentially harmful situation?
Yes.
Okay.
And he was suicidal.
Do you call the defendant?
I call his wife's
One
phone.
point.
Okay. Oh, and by the way, how many years have you been a member of the crisis negotiation team?
Approximately 6 years. I started in 2016, but I had a 2-year break in between.
So you call his wife's phone. Do you eventually get the defendant on the phone?
Yes, I do.
How long do you spend talking with Mr. Tellis?
In total is about 2 hours.
Okay. Does he say anything to you that expresses that gives you a concern about his personal safety?
Yes.
Okay. What does he say that brings you that concern?
There's multiple statements that he wasn't thinking clearly, and that he was thinking about hurting himself. And then
He's shaking his head
progressed
like,
to-
no, I wasn't. Don't say that. That's embarrassing. I don't want people to think that I'm suicidal. Watch his reaction to this testimony. He sounds paranoid. This guy's on the crisis intervention team. He already had a rapport with him. He's going to try and talk him off the ledge. Yet, Tellis thinks he's trying to frame him. I don't know. Watch this.
There's multiple statements that he wasn't thinking clearly, and that he was thinking about hurting himself. And then it progressed to where he was telling me that he could not exit the residence because he was stuck in his tub.
Stuck in his
at that
tub?
point, we members of the SWAT team utilized robots and drones to see that he was in fact laying in his tub and unable to exit.
I want to ask you this question. During that 2-hour negotiation, do you ever step foot inside Mr. Tellis's residence?
No, I do not.
Okay, so are you at some sort of command post or somewhere farther away?
I started off in my vehicle, and then once the SWAT team arrived, we have a room that the negotiators go and sit in. So for probably the first hour and a half, I was in my vehicle, and then I transitioned into the command vehicle for the SWAT team.
Okay, and then at that point, you mentioned that drones or robots confirm. Is that because they're like armed with cameras?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so you get a visual essentially.
Yes.
All right. Ultimately, does SWAT go in and safely get him out of the house?
Yes, they do.
After SWAT gets him out of the house, is he provided medical treatment and brought to an ambulance?
Yes.
Is that ambulance? Obviously, the ambulance is outside of the house. Do you approach that ambulance?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Why do you approach the ambulance?
As part of what we typically do as negotiators, we go to debrief the person that was barricaded within the house, and we have conversations with them to see if there's anything that we could do that could have been different to get them to exit the house earlier, or different things that we could have said to have rationale with the subject. On top of that, with my relationship with Mr. Tellis, just to see if he was okay.
Okay, I'll ask you, Detective, were you concerned about him?
Yes.
Okay, why?
Like I said, I had a relationship with him. Obviously, through the conversation that we had, we know about his family, everything that he's going through. You never want to see someone in a situation where they feel like they have to hurt themselves. Like doesn't matter what the nature of the allegations are, or anything like that. And so all those things were factors that, I was concerned about his safety.
Okay. How long, I don't want to get into the substance of it, but like how long do you spend interacting with him?
In the ambulance, I was probably in there for about 5 minutes.
Okay. Do you stay in the ambulance as he's taken to a hospital?
No, I do not.
Okay, so he is then taken away at that point.
Yes.
After he leaves to go to the ambulance, Detective Jappy, did you set foot inside Mr. Tellis's residence?
No, I did not.
Okay, so September 7th, Robert Tellis is arrested. At this point, do you stop your investigation into Compass and Mr. Tellis?
No, both investigations still continue.
Okay. Let's first talk about the Tellis investigation. When do you conclude your investigation into the allegations raised by Rita Reed and Alicia Goodwin and Ms. McMahon?
My investigation ended around February of 2023. We passed the information that we had and all the information that we collected to the FBI to do a secondary analysis of it.
Let me stop. I want to stop you here for a second. You conclude in February of 2023.
Yes.
Okay. Before you send it to the FBI, what determination, Detective, do you make regarding the allegations that Robert Tellis did something involving a kickback scheme?
Through all the investigation that we did and all the research that we conducted, there is no evidence to support that Mr. Tellis was receiving any kickbacks.
Okay. Do you then refer to the FBI?
Yes.
And what does the FBI say?
They review the documentation as well, and they came to the same conclusion.
No kickbacks.
Do you take this evidence to the DA's office in the hopes that they file charges against Mr. Tellis?
No, I did not.
So you don't do that in that case?
Correct.
With respect to what the old guard has said about Mr. Tellis. Is that correct? Do you know who the old guard is?
I do not.
Okay. Sorry, I'll use it about regarding what Ms. Rita Reed or Alicia Goodwin or Ms. McMahon, what they say about him. You don't take all that to the DA's office.
Correct.
Regarding Mr. Tellis.
Correct.
Let's turn our attention to Compass Realty. When did your investigation conclude on that?
Around February of 2023.
Okay. Do you take that information? What conclusion? Let's do it this way. Do you take that evidence to the DA's office?
Yes, I do.
In the hopes that they file charges?
When I took the evidence to the district attorney's office, it was in support of trying to get search warrants for to further the investigation.
And what are you told essentially by members of the district attorney's office?
That based on the information that we had and how the Nevada revised statute is written regarding probate cells, that through the legislative loopholes that Compass Realty was utilizing loopholes and that there would not be a criminal prosecution of the case.
So specifically, we're talking about things like the requirements of service, right? Like you don't have certified mail, and you're getting a mixed bag, so it's going to be hard to say that they weren't really notifying people.
Yes, that's correct.
And so, because you had some people who in fact were notified and some people didn't.
Yes, and then in regards to filing the false documents to the court, oftentimes the employee of Compass Realty did provide who the home was sold to and the company that it was sold to. And there was no further questions from the court about it, but they did provide the documentation.
So at the end of the day, regarding the Tellis accusations, you do not go to the DA's office, but Compass Realty you did.
Correct.
But based on the way the law was written, you were told this can't go any further just because of just how these statutes are written.
Yes, that's correct.
I want to talk about one more thing, that pen register. Did you have an opportunity to review the pen register with respect to Mr. Tellis?
Yes.
Okay. And on that day, and you have records, you've collected those records. On that day, in the morning of September 2nd of 2022, what do you see in terms of the activity on that phone?
The activity between, I don't have the exact times, but between like 8:30 in the morning, around 8:30 in the morning to early afternoon, the phone activity was only incoming activity as far as text messages and phone calls. And there was no outgoing text messages or phone calls until early afternoon.
Okay, so basically like there's activity on the phone and geographically, where's the phone pinging from?
Around his residence.
Okay, so the phone appears to be located nearby the residence.
Correct.
And people are kind of reaching out to his phone, but nothing's going out.
That's correct.
For about how long of a time period?
I would say approximately 5 to 6 hours.
Okay,
Mm.
and you've provided those records to our office, is that correct?
Yes.
At this time, we're going to ask for the admission of states 345. It's been admitted by stipulation.
Correct. Yes, Your Honor.
Good place to pause right here. And thank you, Priscilla Stevenson, for your $5 super sticker, and Laura Christine for the very generous 20 for the contribution to my Friday beverage fund. I appreciate you. Latina, thanks for the 10, says, did you see the motion Ashley Benefield's lawyer filed juror misconduct? It's juicy. I was so sick over that verdict. Hope this works in her favor. I covered it yesterday. We did an hour on it yesterday. During the lunch hour of this trial, I have some more documents that we're going to look at tomorrow. So make sure you hit the bell, because what I found is pretty crazy. I found the exhibits that have to do with juror 15, and they're pretty damning if true. And I'm pretty sure that it's exactly juror 15. So pretty sure that it is true. All right, back to the live court feed.
We could just cue over.
It was actually yesterday, Jody. I don't know where you are in the world, Jody, but I did do it yesterday at lunchtime. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Oh, it's because I have to slide it over here. I apologize. Let's do this with this. Voila. It's magic. Okay. This is going to, I'll have to look over here.
Technical
Sorry,
difficulty.
this
Oh,
is a
this is
little
what
harder
happens
for
when
me to do.
attorneys have to do their own exhibits. They don't have a
Okay.
Craig with a tiny desk.
What are we looking at in this first column
Oops.
here? Do you know?
The first column is just the case number that our technical and analytical section assigned to it.
And what is this? What is this second column indicating?
The second column is the target phone number, so the phone number that the PIN register is provisioned on.
And for the record, I opened up a file that was entitled 702-533-1858 CDRs.
Correct.
Okay.
Can I just talk about how much I hate this format of spreadsheet? I hate these spreadsheets. They're too big. You can never print them out all on one page. The columns stink. This is like when I was in 8th grade and we learned about computers and how to put things in spreadsheets. Does anybody have a better system? Is it possible to make a better spreadsheet? I hate these so much. That's my vent of the day.
What's in column D?
The date of the activity.
Okay. So tell me this. So what time did you say roughly this starts at?
I said approximately 8:30. It looks like it's 8:45 hours. So 8:45 in the morning was that last. I'm sorry, 08:48 in the morning was the last outgoing text messages.
Okay. So that's entry. I'm sorry, it's just really hard for me to see. I apologize.
No.
So eight at entry number. What is that entry number with the outgoing text?
The only thing I can see is it ends in 56.
Oh, it's cut off on your screen. So is it 45556? And it's a text in column H outgoing, correct?
Yes.
And it's sent to 6728556. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, that's outgoing. The next couple entries below, the next two are incoming, correct?
Yes.
What is the significance, though, of outgoing data? What does that mean?
So through my training experience, data sessions aren't reflected with the accurate times on through phone records. We're taught not to rely on data sessions.
Okay, so that potentially is just a ping from the cell phone company sending things out.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure like what counts as data sessions, but
But on a record, let's say you send a text message in column 8, it'll say text, right?
Yes.
Okay. So let's keep scrolling down. So if we look at entry number 45568 at 9:16:01, there seems to be an incoming text, correct?
Yes.
And again, there's outgoing data, and then another incoming text. Is that correct?
Yes.
And so essentially, you're seeing a series of incoming texts, but there's like no response. There's no outgoing text, correct?
Correct.
All right. So we're at, if we look at entry 45582, the very one at the bottom. Can you read me the time at that point?
Yes, that's 9:44:53.
All right. Let's keep scrolling down. So, again, are we seeing kind of a toggling of incoming text message and then these outgoing data kind of notations, correct?
Yes.
Please tell me what the last time on this entry here is.
10:16:31.
And I know it's cut off, and that's entry number 45597 for the record. Wrong mouse. All right. Now we have something called incoming voice. What is that?
That's his phone is receiving a phone call.
Okay. So you're seeing a couple of calls that are being made, correct?
Yes.
But nothing outgoing in terms of voice or text.
Correct.
What is the last time that you have here?
The last time I have is 11:59:09.
And for the record, since it's cut off, it's 45:612. Looking at here, again, we're not seeing anything outgoing in terms of voice or text, correct?
Correct.
But there is an incoming voice at the end, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. What is the time on that?
13:20:28.
So I'm assuming that's a 24-hour clock?
Yes.
Okay, so convert that for people who don't know.
Yes.
24-hour clock.
That'd be 1:20 p.m. and 28 seconds.
Okay, so another incoming, at 1:20 incoming voice call. And for the record, that entry is 45:630. Let's see. Again, are we only seeing incoming text at this point?
Yes, I believe so.
All right. No outgoing text, no outgoing voices.
Correct.
Correct. Okay. Please tell us the time here at the bottom.
13:26:35. So 1:26 and 35 seconds p.m.
Okay. And for the record, that's entry point 45651. Now I want to turn your attention to the third entry from the bottom. The entry is 45658 at 14:05:49. What do we have there?
We have an outgoing text message to 702-325-2821. So that means he sent a text, or his phone sent
Who
a text
dat?
message
To
to
who?
that number.
Please convert for this jury what 14:05 translates into in a normal 12-hour clock.
As 2:05 and 49 seconds p.m.
Okay, so from 8:48 a.m. until 2:05 p.m., there's not a single outgoing voice call or a single outgoing text message.
He left
Correct,
his
correct?
phone home.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
That was one smart thing that he did.
We probably need
If
to
he
take
did
a
it.
break. Okay, we're gonna take a recess. During this recess, you're admonished not to discuss or communicate with anyone, including your fellow jurors, in any way regarding the case or its merits, either by voice, phone, email, text, internet, or other means.
How far behind were we? People were saying just to hit skip on that commercial. The problem was it logged me out. And if I hit skip, I would keep getting commercials the rest of the time until I logged back into YouTube. Because, I pay for premium and all. I don't watch commercials anymore. Do you guys watch commercials, or do you have YouTube premium too? Look at Kimmy coming in here with all these super chats. I don't know what this is. I put them up earlier. Irish Rovers, Green Alligators. I don't know. Oligarch meaning power, basically, a Russian mafia. Wow, security of lazy boys. Yeah, kind of. Freedom of the sneeze. Both of them lazy boys. She's coming in from Canada with all the super chats. Witness looks like Eddie from Ed, and Eddie. I don't know who that is. Ed, and Eddie. Anybody know? Inexplicable Susan. Welcome. Welcome. What say you, my friends, about our palate cleanser? DK, thank you so much for this. In the 70s, the college near me would have a spring musical and bring in a celebrity. My sister was the lead opposite Leonard Nimoy. What? He came to our house for dinner. I realized when I got older how cool that was. That is so cool, D. Put that up earlier so everyone could read it, but I didn't read it aloud. So thank you so much for the 20 and for your continuing kind philanthropy to this show. What do you think so far, my friends? What do you think? That's very nice of you, Randy. I will watch ads on non-lives to support the creator. It does, actually. If you let the ads play through, it does help the channel. I know everyone's got premium, right? Because once you start watching YouTube, you kind of don't go back to regular TV. Although I'm here for it. So if anybody has any good recommendations of shows to watch, I'm here for it. I recommended Presumed Innocent to a bunch of people and they loved it. So I don't want to spoil it for you. Presumed Innocent is it's with Jake Gyllenhaal. It's based on the old, I mean, it's pretty old, the Scott Turow book. And there was an old movie with Harrison Ford. It's a mini series, I think like 7 or 8 series, 7 or 8 episodes. Jake Gyllenhaal. It's really good. Good night, Jam Jar. I don't know where you are, but you must be ahead in time. It is 6:30 here on the East Coast. I know these are long days. You liked it, Ashley? Ashley liked it. One of the funniest series that I've ever watched on streaming, and I can't remember what channel it is, but I'm going to look it up. Did anybody watch the show Episodes with Matt LeBlanc? I don't know how many seasons it was, but it's about 2 writers that come over from the UK to take over a TV show, and Matt LeBlanc plays himself, but a really like a really D-bag version of himself. It is one of the funniest shows I've ever seen. I would watch it again. Sometimes you can get Apple TV for like free when you get a new phone. I think I had it for free. And as far as streamers go, it's one of the cheaper ones. I think it's maybe like $6 a month. Yes, Mary, you watched Episodes. The writing is fantastic. Matt LeBlanc is hilarious. One of the funniest shows I've ever seen. The last thing he told me on Apple TV. All right, I'll go to that. Can't wait for Handmaid's Tale to come back. What is going on? They've been on hiatus for like 3 years. I think Elizabeth Moss was pregnant or is pregnant or had a baby or I don't know, but it's taking way too long for Handmaid's Tale. Morning Show is filming again, so that's good. I love Morning Show. They all happen to be on Apple. On the back. Carol on Episodes, yeah. Oh, love that show. What's it on, Mary? The Night of, I did watch that. That was very good. Shards of Words. The name of Episodes. It's a comedy. I'm gonna look up where it is, where you can find it.
Thank you, everyone. Please be seated.
It's on Showtime, or it was on Showtime. Ran from 2011 to 2017. 5 seasons total. Hilarious. So good, right, Beth? I can't wait to see what happens next. Except now it's like people kind of lose interest when they take too long of a break. 2025. It's like the Koberger trial is going to happen before we see the next season of Handmaid's Tale. Oh, for Pete's sakes, who doesn't love Joey? We love Joey. Yes, Showtime. I promise you, you're going to love it. So funny, right? Jadzia liked it too. No, it wasn't. It was, I'll tell you who's in it because I have my IMDb pulled right up here. His name is Stephen Mangan and Tamsin Grieg. I think they're British actors. Very, very funny. Andrea Savage is in it. I like her. She's funny. But Matt LeBlanc's character was really, he was genius in that show. Resident Alien. I've not seen that. Good? Funny? Something funny. You know, after we do true crime all the time and all this sad, depressing stuff, we need a good comedy. Oh, the sequel to Handmaid's Tale with Ann Dowd. Love her. Ann Dowd plays Aunt Lydia.
Does the state stipulate to the presence of the county? Yes, Your Honor. And the defense?
Right, we got just one more.
You bet.
So that's so great that we just chat. We just chat. Talk about all kinds of things. The price went up on Apple TV. Oh, I guess I should start looking at my credit card bills. My recurring charges. Oh, you think it's on Paramount now? Episodes? You guys, really, so worth the watch. You got to get away from this depressing stuff and you know, watch something funny. Bad Sisters on Apple TV. All right. I'm going to write it down. Thank you, Leanne.
Sure, no problem.
Did anybody watch Servant on Apple TV? That's a creepy show. Really creepy. It's the guy, the kid, the little Rupert Grint from the Harry Potter shows. Patronus, I don't know if you're still here, but you'd like it. He's really creepy. And also the girl who was in 6 Feet Under. What's her name? Lauren. Can't think of it right now. The redhead. It's really creepy. Mr. In Between. Gotta write that down. Netflix Resident Alien. Thank you. There's a new show with Vince Vaughn that has just come out recently, I think, on Netflix that somebody recommended yesterday. I don't know, it was like Monkey Man or something. Netflix? Maybe no, it's also Apple because it's Bill Lawrence who did Ted Lasso. So I think he's got a deal with Apple TV.
Thank you.
Okay, cross-examination.
Yes, thank you. Detective Jappy, just so we're clear, based upon your direct testimony today, Mr. Tellis has basically been exonerated of the allegation or the concern of your investigation regarding his receiving bribes or kickbacks.
Yes, that's correct.
This investigation was basically started by Kimberly McMahon meeting with you and giving you information, fair to say?
That was part of it, yes.
As a result of her coming to you, you sought a pin register, trap and trace real-time device location wherein you could follow Mr. Tellis's phone.
Again, in part because of the information received by her.
Correct. Long story short, the warrant that you obtained was, it makes reference to Kimberly McMahon, correct?
Yes.
That provided the probable cause for you to get this trap and trace device, correct?
It helped the probable cause.
It was the primary reason. We'll go there. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
As a result of this, you were able to monitor his whereabouts. Maybe not to the specific inch, but pretty darn close.
That's correct.
You were able to monitor calls received, sent out, the metadata, not the contents, but the numbers.
Correct, the phone number's out, yes.
as well as the data information, the text that he both received and sent out, fair to say?
Yes, phone numbers that either sent or received it, yes.
Correct. You would testify concerning surveillance that had been conducted on Mr. Tellis, correct?
Yes.
There is a report that was generated on August 17th of 2022.
Correct.
Criminal intelligence surveillance log was generated as a result of the surveillance that was conducted.
Yes.
Notes are taken concerning the activities of Mr. Tellis.
Yes, that'd be correct.
Picks up a child, goes to Home Depot, fair to say?
Yes.
Goes to Chipotle.
Yes.
Goes home. And he was
Chipotle.
under surveillance for a number of hours on August 17th, 2022.
Correct.
Now, there's a second report that's generated, and that's a September 6th, 2022. And this is of Mr. Tellis.
Yes.
References made where security cameras are observed under the eave of the roof.
Correct.
And there's a notice or a notation here concerning those not having been there previously.
Yes.
Now, there's reference made to, and actually you testified now concerning surveillance conducted of Mr. Tellis on September 1st, 2022.
Yes.
Was a report generated or a surveillance log generated in reference to that surveillance?
Yes, there was.
Was that provided to the district attorney's office?
Yes.
You are subject to recall, and the parties have agreed that in the event that it's necessary to call you back, which you're willing to come back and speak to us, correct?
Yes, I am.
Right. And it's your testimony that as a result of the surveillance of Mr. Tellis on September 1st, 2022, that he was not surveilled on September 2nd of 2022. You generally don't like to have two surveillance days back to back.
Correct.
Fair to say that he was subject to surveillance from the time that you obtained this warrant and began looking at him on August 17th until past the time that the events which gave rise to this case occurred.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
You bet. He's under surveillance. First time's October 17th. I'm sorry, August 17th. He's then surveilled September 1st of 2022.
Correct.
And then he's surveilled September 6th, 2022. Correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And the events that gave rise to this case are alleged to have occurred on September 2nd, 2022.
Yes.
So during this time, he was subject to surveillance, but just not on this specific day, according to your testimony.
Damn.
Yes, that's correct.
Too bad.
From the time that you obtained this warrant in August, he was subject again to this pen register trap and trace.
Yes.
And that obviously covered the events as we've seen of September 2nd, 2022.
Yes, it did.
At no time during this course of events, to your knowledge, was he made aware of these things?
Correct.
Or these efforts on your part, fair to say?
Yes, very fair.
In reference to the person that came forward to you and gave you information, which was the primary basis for your warrant, Kimberly McMahon, she was a real estate agent.
Yes.
But at the time that these solicitations that she claimed occurred between herself and Mr. Tellis, she was actually a lieutenant of the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department.
Around the same time. I don't know the exact dates, but yes, around the same time.
Okay. And if I were to tell you that it's my understanding that she was, would you have any reason to disagree with me?
No.
Okay. You had testified that while Mr. Tellis has been exonerated, and let me ask you this, your investigation concerning Mr. Tellis and these allegations against Mr. Tellis concerning this kickback scheme, he was never notified, correct?
Correct.
So, up until your testimony today, he did not receive a phone call, he hasn't received a letter, anything of that nature to inform him that your investigation was complete and that you found no wrongdoing concerning the allegations that you were involved in.
I did not interview him, reference it, and it's not typical to let people know that they're subject of investigation.
Fair enough.
Wait, I just got to point out, Dr. Barry, I love your channel. People have pointed you out to me before. So, call me. Maybe we could do something together. For those of you who don't know, Dr. Barry has her own channel. She's a psychologist, a licensed psychologist, and she makes reaction videos to court cases and things about trauma response. And I would love to pick your brain on Ashley Benefield. I'm looking at your channel right now. So I wonder if you did anything on Ashley Benefield, because that was a crazy case. And we have a lot of victims and a lot of survivors in this chat. So thank you for coming. And I'd love to do a show with you sometime.
Would you agree with me that based upon this investigation that he conducted, an independent investigation, and provide you documentation concerning, you began and continued investigation for several months concerning Compass Realty and other actors?
Yes, I did.
And you ultimately submitted the evidence that you confirmed and built upon that was received from him. You submitted that to the district attorney's office.
It was a conversation with the district attorney's office. There's no formal submission or anything along those lines.
And you were informed that while obviously it was a statutory issue, but the district attorney's office did not file charges, but then you had given testimony that this information has been submitted to the FBI.
In regards to Mr. Tellis, yes.
Okay. In regards to even concerning an investigation of Mr. Tellis, or just so we're clear, please?
Yes, concerning the investigation that we were doing into Mr. Tellis for the kickbacks, that information was turned over to the FBI. The information referenced Compass Realty was not.
Okay. Fair to say that if Mr. Tellis had not come forth to you, that you wouldn't have learned, you weren't notified prior to his notifying you of these actions of Compass Realty and others?
Correct.
So he reached out to you, correct?
Yes.
And when I say you, I'm saying if I told you that he first reached out to the district attorney, Mr. Wolfson, and then ultimately it came to your desk, would you ever any reason to disagree with that?
No, that's a fair assessment.
You reached out to Detective Gaddis on September 4th of 2022, correct?
Detective Gaddis and I had a conversation before, since the murder occurred, up until his arrest. So
you had reached out, and if I told you it was contained within an officer's report authored by Detective Gaddis, do you have a reason to disagree with me?
No, I wouldn't.
So you'd agree with me, you reached out to Detective Gaddis to inform Detective Gaddis that you had information that you felt would implicate Mr. Tellis in a murder?
I don't recall any information that would implicate him. I passed along facts that I had for through my investigation.
To where you thought that he should be a target or he should be looked at?
Again, I was just informing Detective Gaddis of information that I had. She was a case agent. However, she receives that information is her decision.
And like I said, I don't want to mince words with you, but you basically reached out to Detective Gaddis to say, hey, I think I have some information. You should look at Mr. Tellis.
I don't know. His cadence is just every time I look over at my big giant screen over here, I feel like I'm watching a soap opera for some reason. It's just very soap opera, like the cinematography of it all. The fact that I can't believe there's nobody in this courtroom. There's literally 3 people. There's not even any media in the front row. We've had media here every day. It's so weird. Something about his cadence reminds me of a soap opera actor. I don't know why.
She should be aware of the information I had, yes.
Okay. Mr. Tellis is detained for the purposes of collecting his DNA and ultimately his pants on September 7th. You're aware of that?
Yes.
He's subsequently spoken to by homicide detectives, correct?
Yes.
You then became involved or entered into that interview, that discussion.
I was present at the beginning of the conversation with him.
Okay. And there was a discussion that you had with him concerning an investigation or other matters concerning you and him, correct?
Yes, we had conversation. I I was giving him updates on where we're at with Compass Realty as the homicide investigation was continuing.
So he's being detained, having his DNA taken, literally having his pants taken off of him, and you are speaking to him concerning Compass and Compass Realty.
When I spoke to him, that process had already been completed, and we're just in the room, more like small talk type conversation.
Okay, but you're
Chit
there.
chat.
Yes.
Chit chat.
He's obviously aware that he's the subject of a murder investigation. Things are going, as you testified, fairly badly for him in a psychological, mental sense. You're now part of the crisis negotiation team that's speaking to him, correct?
Yes.
And then following his emergence from his residence, you then are in the ambulance with Mr. Tellis, correct?
Yes, I was.
And it was just you and he in the ambulance?
No, there was multiple people inside the ambulance.
Okay, who was in the ambulance?
My partner with the negotiation team was with me, and then numerous firefighters and paramedics.
I see. And since that time, you've not had any contact with Mr. Tellis?
No.
Thank you. And again, subject to recall, I'll pass the witness. Thank you.
Thank you. Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you very much for your testimony here today. You may step down. You're not excused from your subpoena.
Not a whole lot.
If Mr. Draskovich wants to recall you, we'll let you know.
Okay.
Thank you very much for being here today. You may step down. You are excused.
Thank you.
And the state may call their next witness.
State called Officer Levi Hancock.
I mean, I feel like he was trying to do a Windsor knot on that tie and it just didn't work out. I want to go and I want to tighten it a little bit. Jamcracker, thanks for the 5. Yeah. Truth Revealed did 3 or 4 videos on Ashley Benefield. They're really good. They're really good. He does think that she was telling the truth. So if you guys haven't watched, go watch them. Don't go now. Go watch them later. Sergio Denaro. F a little.
Raise your right hand, please.
You do solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the
Oh,
truth,
I
so
bet you
help
he's
you
with
God?
the SWAT
Yes.
team.
You may be seated.
Scaring me.
Please state and spell your first and last name for the record.
Levi Hancock, first name is spelled Levi, last name is Hancock.
Have received, Your Honor. Thank you. Sir, what do you do for a living?
I'm employed with the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department
And what division are you currently in with Metro?
in the SWAT section.
Okay. I want to turn your attention to September 7th of 2022. Were you and your SWAT team members kind of sent out to help assist in potentially effectuating an arrest on a defendant by the name, a suspect by the name of Robert Tellis?
Yes, we were.
Do you see Robert Tellis here in the courtroom today?
Yes, I do.
Okay, could you please point out where he is and describe an article of clothing that he's wearing?
He's wearing a gray suit on the far right side of that table.
All right, let the record reflect the witnesses identify the defendant.
Love how they clarify for the record.
Now, prior to going out to effectuate that arrest, were you aware that there was a search warrant being executed on that home earlier in the day?
Yes.
Okay. So once you guys are sent out, what is the plan at that point? What's the plan to do this?
So we had been notified of the previous search warrant. We were also told that there was an incoming search warrant to take Mr. Tellis into custody. That was pending some DNA results.
Okay.
It was our understanding that surveillance was being done on the house at that point in time, at which point they made contact with him, and then they deemed it a barricaded person, and that's when we were requested.
And around that time, DNA results come back in. Are you made aware of that?
Yes.
And there's a decision that an effectuating arrest is going to happen.
Correct.
How many SWAT officers respond to this barricade?
I would say probably around 20 or so, at least.
All right.
Wow.
Where were you? Let me ask you this: when, let's say, you're dealing with a resident,
Okay. All right. There's that squeaky door.
Number.
There's that
Yes.
squeaky door. Finally, I heard the squeaky door. You know what I did, you guys? I made a WD-40 emoji for this trial. This is the first time I've heard the squeaky door all day, and I've been waiting for it. So, members, you have a WD-40 emoji. There it is. This, I may change my mind on Zachary. This may be my new favorite witness. I'm just saying. SWAT daddy. No
They are.
disrespect.
What is that? How does that work in your?
So if you're
in your
facing a
level?
residence, to the left of it would be the 2 side.
I'm fixing
The
my hair like
rear
you
is
can
what
see
we
me.
call the 3 side, and then to the right of it would be the 4 side,
And the front would be?
the 1 side.
All right. So, were you assigned a particular side of the house?
Yes, it was, red team was actually the primary team that day, and I work on blue team. They put a request out for additional personnel, and I was assigned to work on the 3 side of the building.
So that's the back part.
That's
of
the
house.
back, correct.
And I don't want to assume, but it sounds as if maybe there are officers maybe on all sides of the house. Would that be fair?
Yes, it's completely surrounded.
Okay. So are there efforts, as far as you know, to communicate with Mr. Tellis to see if he would come out on his own?
Yes, prior to our arrival was our understanding, at least the communication that had been put out, was that they were on the phone with him and he had made the refusal to come out of the residence.
Do you know roughly how long people talked with Mr. Tellis?
It was well more than an hour,
Okay.
if not closer to 2.
All right. Ultimately, are you able, does the SWAT team enter the home?
Yes, prior to our arrival, the units that were conducting surveillance made the determination that they needed to enter the residence under exigent circumstances because they were in fear that he was harming himself. They made entry into the home, cleared the first level of the home. That's the point when SWAT assets started to arrive and took over inside the home.
And based on what you learned, where did you believe Mr. Tellis was located in the house? You said you secured the first floor. Where did you believe he was located?
So it was relayed to us. We also put out snipers, so they provide intelligence and overwatch for us. They had seen some movement on the second floor of the 1 side. If you're facing the home, the very first window, it appeared to be some block windows, but they could see some movement, some hand movement gestures coming from that bathroom.
Okay. Is there a decision made to make your way up the stairs to the second floor?
Yes. Prior to that, we used robotics and a drone.
Why are those helpful?
Robotics and a drone, 20 SWAT team members coming in to arrest this guy, boss baby. And Tara, you're saying what I was thinking. I feel safe. He's making me feel very safe right now. Like he came in, he took the stand, he took command. He makes me feel safe. I'm just saying.
Well, we don't want to rush into any type of situation and put ourselves in a position where, unfortunately, we encounter a lot of individuals that try and go suicide by cop. So we want to identify somebody, try and isolate them, establish communication with them, and have a peaceful resolution.
Okay. So do the robots and the drones establish visual on the defendant?
Yes, the robot came in first, ascended the stairs, and actually proceeded into the master bedroom, which is on the 1 side of the second floor.
Okay, so the front side of the house.
The front side of the house, yes.
I'm learning. Okay, so the robot gets visual. How about the drone? Does it establish visual as well?
Yeah, the robot actually made its way into the master bedroom. There was quite a bit of clutter in the bedroom, so it couldn't really proceed much further. Soon after that, the drone came in, flew into that bedroom, and identified Mr. Tellis in the bathtub.
Okay, so he's in the bathtub according to the visuals that you got.
Yes.
Okay, so what happens next?
It was relayed to us as the drone flew in. And again, the robots have the ability to establish communications with the person. They relayed to us over the radio that Mr. Tellis had appeared to drop a knife outside of the bathtub, meaning that he was potentially unarmed at that point. They identified that he was covered in blood and potentially had some self-inflicted wounds on him.
Oh, wow.
Do you and your team make your way up the stairs to the bathroom?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, when you reach the bathroom, what do you see and what do you do at that point?
I was the first person in the bathroom operating the shield. We established verbal communication with him, told him, let me see your hands. He made some gesture like he said, if he did have a weapon, I believe I said, drop the knife or drop whatever you may have. He made some gesture that it was outside.
Look at him. He's looking at him like he's crazy.
Definitively.
Again, I'm not a psychologist, Dr. Berry, but this defendant's just giving me some weird vibes. Like, it's almost like, and I could see where he might be like embarrassed that this is being told about him, but it's almost like he doesn't want anybody to know this because it makes him look weak, maybe. I don't know. I'm not the psychologist. I'll let Dr. Berry analyze this one, but his affect is very strange. His demeanor is very strange. And we don't like to make fun of any witnesses' looks or, body shame or sexual orientation or anything like that. But the demeanor is fair game. The testimony is fair game. And his demeanor is just, there's something off about it. And he's going to testify. And during our pretrial stuff, we looked at a lot of video of him. We saw when he was representing himself, how he behaved in court. We saw when he was being interviewed by Jeff Gehrman. And I think there was another interview that we watched, or maybe a campaign commercial. Like, his affect when he's being interviewed and speaking and representing himself in court is so different than these just kind of weird facial expressions, body posture. I don't know. You tell me what you guys think.
Clear his hands at that point, which we proceeded forward to remove him from the bathtub.
Okay. Are you successful in removing him from the bathtub?
Yes.
Once removed from the bathtub, do you provide any sort of immediate assistance medically to Mr. Tellis?
Yes, we extracted him from the bathtub and pulled him out into the main floor space of the master bedroom so we could at least start to render some medical aid. We're fortunate enough to have what's called a tactical emergency medical team with us. So we have commissioned officers that are EMTs, and then we have physicians that volunteer their time. So we had a physician on site along with 2 EMTs that came in along with myself to provide medical aid to Mr. Tellis.
So essentially the 3 of you provide medical aid, is that correct?
Yes, 4 of us.
4 of you.
Yes.
What about the rest of those SWAT members? Do they stick around, or are they kind of sent downstairs? What happened?
No, they were sent to just to make sure the rest of the residence was clear and then just get out of the way.
Okay. After providing medical assistance on the 2nd floor, where do you take Mr. Tellis?
We wrapped him in a sheet so we could ascend him down the stairs, and then he was placed on a gurney, at which point he was taken out to medical.
At the time that you performed all of these actions, were you wearing anything to record things that you had seen or experienced while inside the house?
Yes, we're assigned a body-worn camera, which is worn on my helmet.
Prior to coming here today, have you had a chance to review that body-worn footage?
Yes.
At this time, we are going to play Officer Hancock's body-worn camera. It is found within Exhibit Stage 344. It's been admitted earlier.
Dr. Barry says, I don't think he likes being portrayed this way and is protecting his image. Yeah.
Thank you. Hold on. Okay. I'm just going to stop it right here. Do you recognize what we're looking at here?
Yes, that's the stairs that lead up to the 2nd floor of Mr. Tellis' home.
Okay, thank you very much.
Copy that. We're making our way up to 88 to the master bedroom. The plan's already been put out. We're moving. Keep eyes on.
Have a trigger warning, please, just in case.
Copy that. We have the radio. Jason Renner. Jason, you're up behind me. Yeah, I told him I pulled back over here. Levi, smash it if you need to be. Your hand. Stand up. You got any weapons?
They're being really sensitive on law and crime with regard to not showing autopsy photos, crime scene photos, this particular video of him in the bathtub.
Keep going. Hey, we don't have a lot of room on this land. It's right here. Good. Hey, right here. Put it down. Put it down. Yeah, you got a lot of space. Listen. Hey, you want to take it out? You want to take it out? Hey, check it out. No, SWAT guys. One guy. One guy. Everybody else start backfilling and clearing. Yes, sir. Levi stays with medical. Everyone else start backfill and clear the rest.
I think it was a drone.
We've got a room over here as well. I'll go with Mark. Push back. Where? A lot of significant blood loss in the bathtub. You want to get him outside? Just get dressed. Let's just make sure there's nothing too serious. We need to stop right away. Joey's off. The rest of the team's clearing up now. Hey. Down, we're cutting off the arms are no big deal. They're superficial. They can address and make sure they're junctional. Attack medics are working as well as attack.
That's got to be hard for him to watch if you're him.
Take it all the way down. Take it all the way down. Superficial. Our attack medics, which all superficial to the arms. You're gonna get it there. Doc Anson's gonna be your attack doc. Okay. Let's go over and check his bag.
They have a robo dog.
Which way? Away from us? Hey, I won't control those arms still, okay?
We're just going to stop at 312. I think I'm reading that right, 312. Essentially, the rest of the footage kind of shows you guys administering that emergency aid at the top of the stairs. Would that be correct?
Correct.
Okay. At this time, I have no further questions for the witness.
Cross-examination.
Just briefly.
It's briefly.
On your recollection in the images captured here, it appears that Mr. Tellis had lost a substantial amount of blood.
Correct.
Did you have any indication at this time whether he had ingested drugs or alcohol?
I didn't. The attending physician, John Anson, they made the determination that he possibly ingested something. I believe they gave him 2 doses of Narcan.
Thank you. I have no
Wow.
further questions.
Anyone, Direct?
No, you're right.
Thank you very much for your testimony here today. You may step down. You are excused from your subpoena. Thank you for being here. And
Thank you, SWAT Daddy. Thank you, SWAT Daddy, for making our afternoon here, which is now turned into early evening, 7 p.m. on the East Coast. It's Friday. I don't know. Is she gonna let everybody go early, or is she gonna make them work until 5? She doesn't have a Cape House like Judge Bev, so I don't know. Where do you go in Vegas for the weekend? Tahoe? I don't know how far Tahoe is. I really have no idea. Tell me. Tell me, tell me. Oh, look, Dr. Barry likes our chat. Consciousness of guilt, maybe, when they come to arrest him. He's in the bathtub threatening to take his life. I don't know.
case or its merit discussed again Monday. Okay, at this time, we're going to conclude for the day. We will resume again Monday morning at 10:30. During this recess, you're admonished not to discuss or communicate with anyone, including your fellow jurors, in any way regarding the case or its merits, either by voice, phone, email, text, internet, or the means of communication or social media. Read, watch, or listen to any news or media accounts or commentary about the case. Do research, consult dictionaries, internet, or reference materials. Do any investigation, test a theory, recreate any aspect of the case, or in any other way investigate or learn about the case on your own, or form or express any opinion regarding the case until it's finally submitted to you. Thank you very much. Have a good weekend. We'll see you Monday morning, 10:30.
This judge is our mashup of Cyndi Lauper, 90s Madonna, Betsey Johnson, with the voice of Megan Mullally's character on Will and Grace, and we are here for it. But unfortunately, we have not been able to hear very much from her at all, and it's upsetting me so much. Well, that was a fun day, wasn't it, my friends? We are up to 24 witnesses in 3 days. This is like a speed trial. Originally, the prosecution said they only had 20 witnesses, so I'm not sure how close they are to the end of their case, but it seems like this trial may not go, well, it probably will go through next week, I would imagine. Defense says they have 10 witnesses. And you know that the defendant is probably going to testify, and he's probably going to take like a day. And so who knows how much longer it could be. But we will not come back until 10:30 on Monday for this case. But we do want to come back tomorrow, right? And go over the rest of those Ashley Benefield motions. And hopefully, she'll talk even more, right, with jury instructions. Hubby says, and that Tellis has bitter beer face. That's interesting. Tanya, thanks for joining. We appreciate each and every one of you. So we'll see. We can exhale now. Yeah, I did. I was holding my breath during when they were showing that body cam footage. going like in the yard. So many of us were holding our breath during that, right? And thank you to Law and Crime for keeping it classy and not making us look at some crazy body video. So in any event, thank you to my moderators. You are the best on YouTube, and that's why this is such a fun, kind, and loving place to be. And you guys rock. Thank you so much. Please go watch the morning stream if you haven't already, and put your DNA on the like button, because I promise you that Proctor will not get a hold of it, no matter what. They can't even beat it out of me. Thanks, mods. You did a great job. And also to my members who love me enough to even want to be a member of my channel. Thank you so much. And to viewers, replay viewers, you guys rock. Listen, sign up for your free trial of Aura. I put the link below, because if you weren't here at the beginning of the video, there's been a major hack, and every single American's social security number is now out there on the dark web for free. And you want to be on top of that. You do not want to have your identity stolen, because it is an absolute freaking nightmare. So there you go. The link is right below the video. You can thank me later. I'll see you guys tomorrow on Ashley Benefield. So hit the bell so you know when I go live. I'll schedule that one later. Thank you, Scott. Oops. Yeah, we are all worried about Ashley. Remember, as I always say, to close out every show, be cool, be kind, be classy. It is not hard. I promise you. It is so not hard. Your life will be so much better for it. Peace, my friends. Stay safe out there. Enjoy the rest of your evening.